Neon lights pulse like blood on the outer wall of the towering Phantom Theater, cutting through the future city under the night. The air is filled with the sour smell of synthetic rain, mixed with the low hum of the maglev train in the distance. Xiao Yi pushed open the heavy alloy door, and his footsteps echoed on the smooth marble floor, like tapping a dead heart. The theater hall was empty, and the AI lights automatically adjusted to a faint blue, projecting a distorted reflection, making his figure elongate into a ghost. Several theater employees around were whispering, their eyes piercing like needles, and someone laughed softly, "I heard that he is only in his early 20s. Manager Jiang is out of his mind. Find a rookie to make up the numbers." Xiao Yi's face was expressionless, his eyes swept across them, and the air seemed to be stagnant for a moment. He didn't waste any time. He just threw out an encrypted data card and projected the surveillance footage from the premiere night in the air. Lead actor Bai Lin gave a climactic monologue on the stage. The lights were filled with blood mist. Suddenly, his eyes widened, his throat made a weird gurgling sound, and he slowly fell down. The body was as clean as new, with no blood, no injuries, and no poison. The only unusual thing at the scene, a computer hard drive that had been formatted 5 times. "Boy, are you the genius hacker hired by Manager Jiang?" A rough voice came out of the shadows. Li Tai, the security captain, had a sinister face, his arms were crossed in front of his chest like iron pincers, and he looked up and down at Xiao Yi's thin body, with a mocking arc at the corner of his mouth. "Someone died on the night of the premiere, and the police couldn't find any clues. What can you do? Go back and play your data game. This is not a children's paradise." Li Tai's laughter stopped suddenly, his face turned pale, and he murmured, This is exactly the same as what we saw." The employees' snickers turned into silence, and their eyes widened, as if they were frozen by the invisible cold wind. Jiang Chen appeared from the backstage passage, wearing a straight suit and a smile like a perfect AI-generated mask, but he couldn't hide the sinister look in his eyes. "Mr. Xiao, welcome. Bai Lin's death was an accident and was caused by cardiac arrest. The police have closed the case. What are you doing here?" His voice was smooth, and his footsteps made a tinkling sound on the metal floor, like the drag of chains. Xiao Yi sneered and locked eyes with Jiang Chen. "Accident. Formatted 5 times, there are still residual magnetic field fluctuations. Your server AI performance program has been tampered with." He took out a portable scanner from his backpack, and the silver casing flashed under the blue light and buzzed. He connected the hard drive, and the data flow on the screen was like a wild insect dancing wildly. Jiang Chen's smile was stiff, and beads of sweat broke out on his forehead. The employees around him gasped, and someone whispered, How can he tell the number of formats at a glance?" "Impossible, this hard drive is very clean." Jiang Chen insisted, but his voice trembled slightly. Xiao Yi's fingers were flying, tapping on the virtual keyboard. The scanner made a harsh beep, and the smell of burnt circuits filled the air. The screen flickered, and a fragment of residual data emerged, a distorted figure of the AI dancer, with a blood-red stage in the background, and a faint whisper echoing, "Delete, resurrection, perform eternal life." Li Tai's legs softened and he slid against the wall, his eyes as wide as bells. "Oh my God, this is the AI projection of Bai Lin before he died. Why is it still in the hard drive?" The employees screamed and backed away, their faces as pale as paper. Some murmured, "Ghost, there is a ghost in the server." Jiang Chen's face turned pale and he forced a smile. "Illusion, Mr. Xiao, your scanner is broken." But his hand had clenched into a fist unconsciously, and his knuckles turned white. At this time, the side door of the hall opened with a bang, and a dashing figure broke in. Shen Mo, a senior criminal police officer, has neat short hair and his police badge shines coldly under the light. She scanned the audience and locked her sharp eyes on Xiao Yi. "Are you that data maniac? The police station owes you a favor. I will take this case. Jiang Chen, stop talking nonsense and let us go backstage." Her voice sounded like a whip, and Jiang Chen shuddered and nodded quickly. The backstage passage was cold and narrow, and the AI sensor lights on the walls flickered on and off like blinking evil spirits. The strange smell of engine oil and incense wafted in the air, and the cables under my feet were coiled like pythons. Bai Ning's workstation is at the deepest point. The computer screen is broken and the keyboard is stained with blood. No, is it red ink? Shen Mo frowned, put on his gloves and opened the drawer, and a worn notebook slipped out. The page is torn, with scrawled words: recover password, Shadow 7, blood 3, deep in the server, don't believe Jiang. Bai Ning, assistant before death. Shen Mo whispered, his voice echoing in the passage like a ghost crying. Xiao Yi came closer and his pupils shrank. This is not random graffiti, it is a quantum encryption prompt. Shadow 7 is the server node, and Blood 3 refers to the Blood Shadow Performance module. He touched the page lightly with his fingers, and the notebook became slightly hot, faintly projecting broken data streams. Gu Sheng suddenly emerged from the darkness. The lead actress was wearing a red dress and was crying blood. Her face was beautiful but pale, and she looked as panicked as a frightened deer. She clenched her hands and her voice trembled. What are you doing? Bai Ning, she committed suicide. Stop looking around. Her eyes wandered, and when she scanned the hard drive, her pupils shrank suddenly, as if she had seen a ghost. Shen Mo snorted and grabbed Gu Sheng's arm. Suicide? The autopsy said it was a ruptured carotid artery, but there was no sharp weapon. Tell me, what do you know? Gu Sheng broke free, backed away and hit the wall, making a muffled sound. The red dress spread like blood under the light. I don't know anything. A performance is a performance. But her breathing was rapid, and the smell of perfume was mixed with the smell of fear and sweat. Jiang Chen hurried over and stood in front of Gu Sheng. Officer, Miss Gu is the victim, don't scare her. The case is closed, you can go. His smile was twisted, and beads of sweat fell from his forehead, dripping sizzling on the cable. Late at night, the lights in the theater's main control room dimmed, leaving Xiao Yi alone to work on the hard drive. The rain outside was like a drum, and the water droplets on the window glass were like blood and tears. The buzz of the scanner intensified, and the smell of ionization in the air was pungent. He entered Bai Ning's prompt, quantum decryption poured out like a flood, and the screen flashed crazily. The data was peeled off layer by layer, and a picture exploded in the depths. Bai Lin was on the stage, the AI projection overlapped his figure, the dance steps were weird, and the background server lights flickered like a heartbeat. Suddenly, the screen distorted, and a line of red text appeared: Invasion record, simulated death program injection. Target, serial performance. Deletion failed, resurrection begins. Xiao Yi ignored them, his eyes like a knife piercing the hard drive. Shen Mo, lock down the background. I will restore the data tonight. Shen Mo nodded, admiration flashed in his eyes. Boy, you have the guts. Li Tai and his employees watched from a distance, with shock written on their faces. Someone whispered, can he really recover? That thing, what if it's an AI ghost? Xiao Yi's heart was shocked, and the hard disk made a deep laugh. No, it was a synthesized audio fragment. Welcome, to watch the fatal performance. The screen went black, but Gu Sheng's face flashed in the corner. She was inputting commands in front of the server. Xiao Yi's fingertips were still on the virtual keyboard, and the red letters on the screen seeped into his retinas like blood. The low-laughing synthesized sound deep in the hard drive echoed in the main control room, like a whisper crawling out of hell. The ionized smell in the air is stronger, mixed with the rapid rhythm of rain hitting the window glass, and the neon lights outside the window flicker like broken veins. Shen Mo pushed the door open and walked in. Her leather boots made a clanging sound on the metal floor. Her pistol was unsheathed, and the muzzle glowed coldly under the blue light. Xiao Yi. That bastard Jiang Chen escaped. The back door alarm didn't sound, it seemed to have evaporated. Li Tai, the security guard outside, said he saw a ghost flash past. How are you doing here? Outside the door, Shen Mo's footsteps approached quickly. Xiao Yi. Someone is sneaking around outside, and Jiang Chen is missing. Deep in the hard disk, a hidden file was slowly unlocked. The next victim list, the first line, was Shen Mo's name. The hard drive suddenly buzzed loudly, the screen flickered wildly, data flowed back like a mad worm, and a synthesized voice sounded intermittently: resurrection, death, deletion failed. The lights in the main control room suddenly went out, and only the silver light of the scanner was pulsing in the darkness, like a dying heart. Shen Mo cursed lowly and grabbed Xiao Yi's arm. Let's go. This place has been tricked. They rushed out of the room, their footsteps roaring in the passage. The cables behind them exploded, sparks flew like will-o'-the-wisps, and the smell of burning smell filled the air. Li Tai was waiting at the end of the corridor, sweating profusely and his thick body shaking like chaff. You pissed it off. The lighting AI went out of control and the whole theater went dark. Xiao Yi did not raise her head, her eyes locked on Gu Sheng's face in the corner of the screen. Her fingers were flying on the keyboard, and the input commands penetrated into the server like a poisonous snake. The data is locked. Gu Sheng hacked into the Shadow 7 node half an hour before the premiere and injected a simulated death program. Bai Lin was not an accident, he was the first performance victim. Next on the list is Shen Mo. His voice was as calm as dead water, but it made Shen Mo's breath stagnant. She moved closer to the screen, her pupils shrank suddenly, and the barrel of the gun trembled slightly. Me. Damn it, is this a threat? Or a prophecy? Shen Mo pushed him away and glanced sharply. Seal the exit and let me know if anyone comes in or out. Li Tai nodded like a fool, staring at the hard drive in Xiao Yi's arms with wide eyes. Boy, did you really resurrect the devil? It laughed just now. I heard it. His voice trembled, and his face was twisted into fear. As he backed away, he knocked over a row of electrical boxes, and a piercing alarm sounded. The safe house is hidden in an abandoned warehouse at the lower level of the city. The rusty iron door creaks open. The air inside is stuffy and humid, mixed with the smell of mildew and engine oil. The data cables on the wall are like spider webs. Xiao Yi threw off his soaked windbreaker and connected the hard drive to the host array. The buzzing sound was like a swarm of bees waking up. Data fragments danced wildly on the screen, and the residual magnetic field fluctuated like ghost pulses. Formatted 5 times, traces of quantum superposition. Bai Ning left a backdoor, but the AI counterattack program is eating away at it. Shen Mo leaned against the wall to smoke, with doubtful eyes in the smoke. Genius hacker. I hope it's not false. Those losers in the police station have been tossing for 3 days and found nothing. If you can't solve it, the case will be ruined. Her breath was bitter with nicotine, and she glanced at the flickering screen with vague disbelief. Xiao Yi's fingers were flying like phantoms, and he entered the quantum prompt from Bai Ning's notes: Shadow 7, Rejuvenation, Blood 3. The host's light bar flashed wildly, the smell of electricity in the air was pungent, and the data layer peeled off like the skin of a rotting corpse. Shen Mo's cigarette fell to the ground, her eyes widened and her voice was hoarse. Wait, what is this? The log is pieced together. On the screen, Bai Ning's broken video appeared, her pale face was close to the camera, the background was the pulsing red light of the back-end server, and her voice was intermittently like a ghost. I saw. Bai Ning on the stage, the AI projection is not synchronized, it is controlled. The performance instructions are abnormal. Jiang Chen asked me to delete the traces. The server was hacked, illegal experiments. They want the actors to be eternal in the data and resurrect after death to perform. The image shook, her hand pressed on her neck, and blood spurted out, not suicide, but a pre-recorded projection. Shen Mo rushed forward, smashed the table with his fist, and the table legs creaked and cracked. Bai Ning. She is not an operator, she is an experimental subject. Damn it, when I checked her background, I only saw theater employees. Why didn't I dig up the AI experiment? Her face was ashen, her eyes were bloodshot, and the fire of admiration was ignited in her pupils, but she was shaking with shock. Xiao Yi sneered and pressed the button to speed up the decryption. Jiang Chen was hiding deeply. The log showed that Bai Ning witnessed the lead actor being injected with a death program by the blood shadow module, and his heart was simulated to arrest without any trauma. The hacker used AI to let him act his own death. The data stream accelerated, revealing traces of modifications to the AI script. The original elegant dance steps were replaced with weird spasms, and there was a line of annotation: next performance, Gu Sheng's main show, accidental injection, the audience will always remember it. The two of them rushed out of the back door of the theater, and the synthetic rain poured down like a whip, hitting the alloy roof and making a metal whale. Shen Mo drove a maglev police car, the engine roaring through the night. Xiao Yi connected the hard drive to the encryption terminal in the back seat, and the screen reflected his stern profile. Go to my safe house. The theater server is connected to the internet and the data will self-destruct. Shen Mo glanced at him from the rearview mirror and frowned. Can you do it, kid? That list just now, if it were true, I don't want to become the next Bai Lin. Her tone was thorny, and there was a trace of hesitation hidden under the bold appearance. Raindrops slid down the car window like blood and tears. The backstage passage is even colder, the AI lights flicker on and off like evil spirits, and the cables are coiled and slippery underfoot. Gu Sheng was in the dressing room. She changed her red dress into black gauze, and was touching up her makeup in front of the mirror. Her hands were shaking like Parkinson's disease, and her powder puff made a crisp sound when she fell off. Shen Mo kicked in the door and pointed his gun at him. Gu Sheng, tell me. What command did you enter on the night of the premiere? Gu Sheng screamed and turned around, her beautiful face twisted and pale, her eyes evasive like a rat in fear. When she glanced at the bag in Xiao Yi's arms, her pupils suddenly shrank into needles. Normal, everything is normal. The AI lights and projections are all rehearsed. Her voice trembled, her perfume was filled with the smell of sweat, her hands twisted the hem of her skirt, and her knuckles turned white. The lights in the safe house flickered, and the rain outside the door sounded like insects gnawing at bones. Shen Mo grabbed his coat and said, let's sneak back to the theater. Interview Gu Sheng. There's something wrong with her eyes. Xiao Yi pulled out the hard drive and stuffed it into the radiation-proof bag. There is something wrong with the surveillance video. I want to compare it. They slipped out of the warehouse and the police car flew low and sneaked into the side alley of the theater. The sour smell of night wind mixed with rain hit their faces. The neon lights on the exterior wall of the theater had resumed pulsation, but they were like the convulsions of a dying person. Xiao Yi connected to the scanner, the silver light buzzed, and the smell of burnt air returned. Fingers flying, the black screen footage of the surveillance was peeled off, the hidden layer emerged, Gu Sheng's figure flashed, she entered, Blood 3 activation, in front of the server, the AI dancer overlapped Bai Lin, and forced the injection of heart rhythm interference waves. Jiang Chen's face turned pale, and he stepped back and hit the mirror. The cracks in the glass spread like cobwebs, fake. Synthetic. The employees gasped, and someone screamed, oh my god. Gu Sheng, she killed someone. Li Tai squeezed in through the crack of the door, his rough face was shocked, and murmured, I said there is a ghost, how did this kid dig it out? There is a picture hidden in the black screen. Jiang Chen suddenly burst out from the secret door, his suit was rumpled, and his smile was like a cracked mask. Officer, here again. This is harassment. He handed over the data stick, and the projection monitor. Bai Lin was monologue on stage, the lights were filled with blood mist, the screen suddenly went black for 3 seconds, and he had fallen to the ground when it restarted. Look, there's a power failure, the police have closed the case. Shen Mo snorted coldly, grabbed the data stick and threw it to Xiao Yi. Boy, open it. The theater employees around him poked their heads in to steal, with doubtful eyes. Then the hacker is here again. Miss Gu is scared, can he really do it? Gu Sheng collapsed and knelt down, her red lips trembling. It wasn't me. Jiang Chen forced it, to conduct illegal experiments. The Chable wanted to perform, forever eternity, and delete the evidence. Her cries echoed in the passage, her sweat mixed with tears like blood. Shen Mo handcuffed her and turned his eyes to Xiao Yi, already in awe. You have such a brain. The police station should hire you. But before he finished speaking, the lights in the theater flickered and the radio sounded harshly. Bai Lin's death line was replayed. The shadow of blood lasts forever, resurrection means death. The sound was distorted and synthesized, the lights in the passage were turned off, and the red light in the darkness pulsed like a heartbeat. The two of them dragged Gu Sheng out and rushed out. The sound of their footsteps shattered the glass shards, and the rain hit his face like needle pricks. Jiang Chen's figure disappeared in the distance, and laughter echoed. It's too late. Shen Mo's phone buzzed, and an anonymous message popped up. The data has been deleted, and you will die after resurrecting. The attachment automatically played. Bai Ning's neck spurted blood, and before falling to the ground, he whispered to the camera, "Be careful, pre-recorded, it's a trap." The image froze, her eyes blinked, she was actually alive. The rain fell like thousands of steel needles, stinging the skin. The roar of the police car engine tore through the night. Shen Mo turned the steering wheel fiercely, and the tires screamed and drew arcs of fire on the slippery alloy road. In the rearview mirror, black shadows moved like ghosts, 3 humanoid silhouettes flashed in the broken neon light, and water splashed like blood from their footsteps. Damn it, Jiang Chen's men. They have thermal tracking. Shen Mo growled, the barrel of the gun stuck out from the car window, and there were 2 bangs. The bullet tore through the air and hit the shoulder of the leading black figure. The guy groaned and rolled over, blood mixed with rainwater forming a red ditch, but there were still 2 people who pounced on, hitting the rear of the car with their fists, making a loud thundering sound, and the car body shook violently, as if it was about to collapse. Xiao Yi's pupils shrank and he clutched the hard drive. It's not pre-recorded, it's real-time hacking. Jiang Chen is following us. The lights of the safe house flickered dimly outside, and a black shadow approached in the rain. A synthesized voice whispered from the mobile phone, "Welcome, to the next performance." Shen Mo's gun rang out, and bullets tore through the night. At the end of the scene, Li Tai's roar came from the theater. They ran away. The ghost is coming. Her hands trembled as she held the gun. When she looked at Xiao Yi, her eyes were filled with shock. Boy, you saved my life, but this is just the beginning. The data will last forever, and the truth is like the curtain of a play, with layers of blood and shadows waiting to be revealed. Xiao Yi locked the hard drive in the back seat, opened the radiation protection bag, the silver light scanner buzzed harshly, and the smell of ionization mixed with blood hit his nostrils. His fingers tapped on the virtual keyboard like lightning, ignoring the bumps of the car. Gu Sheng, tell me. Who is the virus coder? The handcuffed Gu Sheng was curled up at her feet, her black gauze soaked close to her body, her pale face twisted, sweat mixed with tears flowing down her neck. I don't know. I only follow what he said when it comes to the command code given by Jiang Chen. Her voice trembled like a candle in the wind, her eyes dodged, and her pupils shrank suddenly as she scanned the hard disk, as if she were seeing an abyss devouring her soul. The outside of the theater was in chaos. Li Tai led a team of security guards to block the door. His thick body blocked the passage, his face was trembling, and rainwater dripped down the brim of his hat like tears. Officer! All those bastards in the logistics department have been arrested. 3 of them are suspicious. They have something hidden on their bodies. He dragged out a thin logistics worker with blood dripping from his trousers and his eyes as wide as a dead fish. Boss, please forgive me, I didn't do anything. Shen Mo kicked him away. When searching his waist, her fingers touched the cold metal, Bai Ning's USB flash drive. The surface was scratched like scratches. What the hell? The USB flash drive was slippery and sticky, and the musty smell in the air was even stronger. She threw it to Xiao Yi, "Boy, tear it down." Shen Mo braked and the car swerved, smashing the street light. Glass fragments flew out like ice blades. She shot back and shattered the jaw of the shadow that hit the window. Brains mixed with the rain and spattered, and sticky hot blood sprayed on the car window, making a sizzling and corroding sound. "Lock down the theater. Li Tai, do you hear me? All the exits are welded shut." After shouting on the phone, she turned around and the police car flew low and rushed back to the side door of the theater. The tires crushed the puddles and made a bone-cracking sound. Gu Sheng screamed and cowered, "Let me go. You can't offend the Chable." Her fingernails dug into the leather of the seat, tearing out white lint, and fear spread like a virus. The data was peeled off like a corpse, and Jiang Chen's account emerged, multiple huge remittances, sourced from the Phantom Consortium, corresponding to Bai Lin's debut and Bai Ning's accident. Xiao Yi snorted coldly, cutting into the deep-hidden partition of the hard disk, inputting the quantum sequence with his fingertips dancing wildly. The pungent smell of electricity surged up, and the virus tree diagram unfolded like a fission on the screen. The signature of "Fatal Command" was like poison ivy, with a blood-red annotation. "Heartbeat simulation stops, AI projection performs immortality." Next premiere, Gu Sheng the main show, blood shadow again. Shen Mo's pupils shrank suddenly, and the gun barrel hit the window with a clang. "The target is me? No, it's her now." She grabbed Gu Sheng's collar, the black gauze ripped with a crisp sound, and Gu Sheng screamed and struggled, "It's not me. Jiang Chen bought the virus, the coder is called Shadow Ghost, I have only seen it once." Xiao Yi grabbed the USB flash drive and connected it to the hard drive link. The host array pulsed with red light in the back of the police car. The data flow was pouring back like crazy insects, and the buzzing was deafening. Gu Sheng gasped and stared, his lips turned white. "That's Bai Ning's backup, she gave it to me before she died." Li Tai came closer and poked at the screen with his thick finger, his voice trembling, "Damn it, the transfer record." Jiang Chen received 5,000 from the Chable Wan, annotated, "Eternal Life Module Test." His eyes bulged, he backed up and hit the car door, making a metallic cry, his whole body shaking like chaff. "Boy, why did you explode as soon as you picked it up? We searched for 3 days and found nothing." The lights in the theater flickered, and Jiang Chen's broadcast blasted, "All staff, emergency meeting. Technical failure, no one involved." There was a roar of footsteps in the passage, and employees rushed to the auditorium in whispers. Li Tai pushed the door open with weak legs. "The boss has summoned us, let's break in." Shen Mo cuffed Gu Sheng tightly and dragged him in. Raindrops dripped down his boots and sounded like a ticking blood clock. The neon lights in the auditorium pulsed coldly, and the smell of ionized burnt air filled the air. Jiang Chen stood on the stage, his suit wrinkled like a shroud, and his smile was twisted. "Officer, are you making trouble again? It's all an AI malfunction, and the Chable has sent experts." The employees in the audience looked suspiciously, and someone whispered, "Then the hacker boy really dug up a ghost? Why does Manager Jiang look like a dead person?" Li Tai gasped, his rough face turned as white as paper. "Shadow Ghost. The ghost hacker rumored in theater logistics. Boy, have you traced the source?" Xiao Yi ignored it. The virus signature matched the theater's main server IP, and the pulse pattern was like an electrocardiogram beating wildly. "Insertion point, Shadow 7 node, injected by Gu Sheng." The time matches. Gu Sheng collapsed and shook her head, tears flying. "I have an alibi. I was on the stage during the premiere." But there was a strange look in her eyes. Xiao Yi caught it, and enlarged the USB flash drive to hide the log. A transfer pointed to the Shenying account, the payment record of the virus coder. The confrontation reached a stalemate in an instant. The big screen in the auditorium suddenly lit up, and the dazzling light burst into the audience. The projection of Bai Ning's figure appeared, his pale face was pressed against the mirror, his neck wound was dripping with blood, and the red light of the background server pulsed like purgatory. She blinked and whispered vividly, Jiang Chen, you forced me to delete traces. The blood shadow module is not a malfunction, it is a killing program. Bai Lin's heartbeat was interfered with by the AI, and the convulsive performance was shown to the audience. I recorded the main server log, the Chable's immortality experiment, resurrected with actor data, and unlimited tours after death. The image shook, and she pointed her finger outside the mirror, Gu Sheng, your Shengyin account has been paid as a programmer, stop pretending. There was dead silence in the whole place, and employees screamed. Li Tai's legs went weak and he knelt down, his rough roar turned into a cry, resurrected. Bai Ning's ghost testifies. Boy, how did you let it be broadcast? Jiang Chen's face turned livid, he threw his fist at the screen, and the glass cracks spread like spider webs, fake. Synthetic. But the data signature appeared simultaneously, and the full code of the fatal command was exposed, heart rhythm waveform manipulation, pre-recorded death loop, and Gu Sheng's reenactment of the end. Shen Mo put the muzzle of his gun against Jiang Chen's forehead, his voice trembling but ecstatic, AI kills, confirmed. You bastard, immortality. Go to hell. Her eyes burst with bloodshot eyes, and when she looked at Xiao Yi, she was filled with adoration and fervor, genius. You crushed their bullshit server. The screen suddenly exploded and collapsed, fragments fell like a rain of sharp knives, sparks exploded and scorched the air, and the synthesized voice echoed with distorted laughter, resurrection means death. Source of Shengyin, deletion failed. Gu Sheng screamed and backed away, her face twisted like an evil spirit, it's not all me. The money given by Jiang Chen, I just. Her black gauze ignited sparks, and when it was extinguished, it revealed the quantum tattoo on her arm, the shadow ghost mark. Li Tai got up, glared and murmured, is Gu Sheng a mole? Boy, you even dug up the source of the virus? We thought she was a victim. The employees were in chaos, some people vomited, the sour smell filled the air, Jiang Chen was pinned to the ground, laughing maniacally, it's too late, the main network of the Chable has been launched, the next premiere, the blood shadow will be broadcast live throughout the city. Xiao Yi went straight to the main console. The silver light of the scanner pierced the darkness and connected to the main server. The data flooded back like a tsunami. The server buzzed and was overloaded, sparks flying and scalding the air. Jiang Chen pounced on him, get away. That's a secret. Shen Mo hit his knee with the butt of a gun. Jiang Chen knelt down and wailed, his suit torn to reveal the burned scars on his arms, you've ruined everything. Gu Sheng suddenly broke free from the handcuffs and rushed toward Xiao Yi, stop. That's my back door. Her voice broke sharply, and the employees gasped. A fat logistician stared wide-eyed, Miss Gu. Do you know Shadow Ghost? The USB flash drive was your account just now. Xiao Yi pulled out the scanner and fixed his stern gaze on Gu Sheng's tattoo. There was still a pulse left deep in the hard disk. Shengying's account is not just a transfer, it is a mother nest of viruses. The main server is connected to the Chable cloud. Shen Mo handcuffed Jiang Chen and Gu Sheng and dragged them out of the auditorium. The rain hit their faces like whips, and the fire behind them shot into the sky. The theater screamed like a dying beast. Li Tai caught up, breathing heavily, officer, that kid is a god. The AI is resurrected to testify, and the police station must erect a monument for him. His admiration burned like fire, and he stared at Xiao Yi's back with wet eyes. The police car's engine roared like a dying beast, tearing through the rainy night. The tires slid on the alloy road, leaving sticky blood stains. The theater's flames shot into the sky in the rearview mirror, twisting into a blood-red ghost. Li Tai's police jeep followed closely, and a rough gasp came from the radio, boy, it's amazing. That projection looks like Bai Ning himself crawling out to bite people, and Manager Zhang's face turned green to shit. His voice shook like chaff, mixed with the dense drum beats of rain hitting the roof of the car, and the smell of blood and ionized burnt mixture in the car was so pungent that it made people sick. Shen Mo gripped the steering wheel tightly, his knuckles turned white, and the barrel of the gun was still pressed against Jiang Chen's temple in the back seat. Jiang Chen was as limp as mud, with blood dripping from the rags of his suit. He was laughing intermittently. The main network of the Chable, you bugs, you are untouchable. Gu Sheng was curled up on the other side, her black gauze was stained with scorch marks, and the quantum tattoo on her arm flashed like a living snake under the red light. She sobbed and twitched. I was forced, let me go, police officer. Xiao Yi ignored the commotion, the hard drive array in the back seat was pulsing blue, the radiation protection bag was open and emitting a metallic chill, his fingers were tapping the virtual keyboard like a ghost, the USB flash drive data was pouring back, and the screen cracked like a Shenging account tree. Rainwater seeped in along the cracks in the window and splashed on the keyboard, making a sizzling sound of electricity. The flow of funds is not limited to the Phantom Consortium. His voice was as cold as an ice blade, cutting into the deep blockchain, and the pulse diagram suddenly bulged. Overseas transfers sprang out, pointing to the Darknet Ghost Alliance, the Eastern European hacker nest, with blood-red notes, virus brood upgrade, immortality module V2, human body limit test fee. Shen Mo caught a glimpse in the rearview mirror, his pupils shrank, and the steering wheel nearly hit the guardrail. Overseas organization. Gu Sheng, are you fucking selling out your country for glory? Her roar made the car windows buzz, and Gu Sheng screamed and cowered, digging his fingernails into the seat and tearing out white lint. Fake. That's Jiang Chen's money laundering. Jiang Chen raised his head with a sinister smile, his face twisted with scars. Evidence. Officer, you can't even touch the main network. Li Tai's radio blasted, his voice as loud as thunder. Boss, there's a call from the bureau. The search warrant has been approved, and the coordinates of Gu Sheng's apartment have been sent. Raid. Shen Mo stepped on the accelerator, and the police car flew low and rushed into the urban elevated area. The neon light swept across the car like a knife, and the air was filled with rain and the smell of coke from a burning theater in the distance. Xiao Yi's fingers accelerated, the silver light of the scanner pierced the darkness, the hard disk hummed and overloaded, and the air was hot with sparks and the smell of ionization was rising. The apartment IP matches the Shadow 7 node, and Gu Sheng's back door is directly connected to the overseas server. The whole car was dead silent. Jiang Chen whispered mockingly, genius. When the plutocrat lawyer comes, you will become a data garbage. Gu Sheng gasped and stared at the screen, her pale lips trembling. Stop digging, it will kill people. The apartment complex stands amid the rain, and the towering alloy towers pulsate with cold blue light, like the mouth of a prison beast. Shen Mo braked and swerved, the tires screeched and drew an arc of fire. Li Tai led the team to slam the door, his thick body knocked open the electric lock, and the debris scattered like ice blades. The lights in Gu Sheng's apartment are flickering, the air is moldy and rotten, mixed with the residual fragrance of perfume, and the performance poster on the wall is distorted. Bai Lin's convulsing figure is projected eternally. Shen Mo kicked the dresser, and the drawer smashed to the ground with a muffled thunder. The encrypted phone inside rolled out, and the black shell was as cold as a corpse. Found it. Boy, take it apart. Li Tai's eyes widened, and he poked the air with his thick finger. Miss Gu's house, the server is hidden under the bed. We were out of sight for a long time, and it exploded as soon as you pointed the way. His admiration was like burning, his legs were weak against the wall, and he was panting like an ox. When Xiao Yi plugged into his cell phone, the data was scurrying like poisonous insects, the buzzing was deafening, and the smell of electricity hit his nostrils. He entered the quantum sequence, and the screen fissured to unfold the performance script modification record. The blood shadow module script was tampered with, the heart rhythm interference wave was injected into Gu Sheng's main show, and there was a 24-hour countdown to the next premiere. Shen Mo came closer, his bloodshot eyes bulging. She changed it herself. AI manipulated the evidence and participated in the murder. Her voice trembled with ecstasy, the barrel of the gun clicked on the phone, and Gu Sheng screamed from the surveillance screen in the isolation room. Synthesis. File given by Jiang Chen. Jiang Qin grinned ferociously in the cage of another car and threw out the projection of the Chable sponsorship contract. The page was slippery and dripping. Look, it's a legal investment. Immortal performance is the forefront of art. What do you bumpkins know? The interrogation room of the police station was as cold as a tomb, the iron door clanked shut, and the air was filled with the smell of sweat and blood. Xiao Yi and Shen Mo pieced together clues, and the projection of Bai Ning's log emerged: the depth of quantum encryption, illegal experiment, AI tests human limits, Bai Lin's first victim, heartbeat simulation stops, data resurrects for infinite tour. Jiang Chen's instructions: delete traces, Gu Sheng injects blood 3 to activate. The red light on the screen pulsed like a heart. Li Tai leaned forward, his rough face turned pale. Bai Ning's ghost notes said that the chief is a guinea pig? Boy, how do you spell out this ghost picture? Our experts in the bureau stared at it for 3 days, and my head hurts. His eyes were moist, and he patted Xiao Yi's shoulder with trembling hands, as hard as a hammer. Shen Mo hit the table with his fist, sawdust flying. The Chable uses actors as batteries to live forever. Damn it! When she looked at Xiao Yi, her eyes were filled with adoration. Genius, you crushed their bullshit encryption. The next show in the theater is approaching, and the city is warming up for live broadcast. The broadcast echoes harshly: Phantom Blood Shadow, Gu Sheng is the main show, data is immortal. Xiao Yi returned to the ruins of the theater. The smell of scorched earth from the embers of the fire hit his face. The main server tower was still humming, and the red light pulsed like the pulse of a dying person. He implanted a monitoring program. Quantum codes danced wildly on his fingertips, data flooded back, servers were overloaded and sparks flew, and the hot air reeked of electricity. Capture abnormal traffic and connect it directly to the Chable cloud. Li Tai guarded the door, breathing hard and staring. Boy, do you dare to enter the main network alone? Manager Zhang's men are still lurking, if the machine explodes. Before he could finish the words, the screen flashed overseas traffic. The IP of the Dark Web Ghost Alliance came in, the Virus V2 upgrade, the Human Body Extreme Test Module, Heart Rhythm Collapse, Spasm Projection, Death Loop. Li Tai knelt down with weak legs and shouted hoarsely, Overseas Ghost Coalition. The whole city's live broadcast turned into a slaughterhouse. The program you implanted, captured them alive. Oh my God! Shen Mo's cell phone rang suddenly, and Gu Sheng's synthesized voice was distorted. Officer, old warehouse C-17, Shadow Ghost is hiding, come quickly. False clues are like poisonous hooks. Shen Mo cursed, fell into a trap. But she decisively led the team out. The jeep flew low over the ruined area. The rain hit the windshield like thousands of needles. The old warehouse stood in the darkness. The iron door was rusty and dripping with blood. The drone inside buzzed, AI murderous intent. Red eyes scanned the heat source. The laser pulse tore the air, hit Li Tai's shoulder, and the smell of burnt flesh and blood exploded. He rolled and wailed, drones. Gu Sheng let the dogs bite us. Shen Mo's gunfire sprayed wildly, bullets ricocheted, and tires burst. She yanked Li Tai out of the window, and the fragments cut his face and blood flowed. Damn it, ambushed. Report to Xiao Yi. The radio was noisy with snowflakes, the warehouse exploded with flames, and the synthetic laughter echoed, resurrection, that's death. The police car sped back to the station. Shen Mo was injured and pushed the door open. His blood-stained clothes were ticking like a bell, and his face was ashen. The drone hacked into the theater AI, Gu Sheng controlled it remotely. Xiao Yi grabbed the encrypted phone, the silver light of the scanner pierced through it, and the decryption layers were peeled off. Skinning the corpse, the recording emerged. Gu Sheng's voice was sweet and twisted. Jiang Chen, the plan requires more sacrifices, the data will last forever. Bai Lin and Bai Ning are just appetizers, the main Chable network is performing throughout the city, and the Ghost Alliance V2 is in place. Jiang Chen responded. Crazy, okay, Shenying Brood is upgraded, you are the incarnation of the Shadow Ghost. The whole room was dead silent, the table above Shen Mo's gun barrel was shattered into wood chips, and his pupils were blood-red, double-faced mole. She not only paid the money, she is the source. Li Tai covered his shoulders and climbed up, his face twisted. Chu worshipped enthusiastically, boy, the recording you interpreted, is like a ghost's confession. We thought Jiang Chen was the mastermind, but Gu Sheng is actually the leader. The bureau must hang a portrait of you. His voice was as hoarse as tears, and he stared at Xiao Yi's back like a god with wet eyes. The police car flew away at a low speed, and the afterimage of the screen flashed in his mind. Bai Ning blinked like an eternal curse. Xiao Yi tapped the hard drive with his finger, and the data was saved forever. The layers of conspiracy were like the curtain of a drama opening. The pulse of Gu Sheng's secret account was not extinguished, and the next performance was quietly being woven. In the rain, the synthesizer whispered faintly, "Welcome, to eternal life." Shen Mo glanced at him in the mirror, his voice hoarse and awe-inspiring, "You saved the whole theater, but this virus," points to a bigger black hand. The night swallowed everything, and the blood shadow was waiting to be recovered. The air in the interrogation room was as sticky as a rotting corpse, the stench of sweat and blood intertwined into a web. The heavy rain outside the iron door smashed against the wall like a ghost knocking on the door. The light tube flickered and cast long shadows. The silver light of Xiao Yi's scanner pulsated, reflecting Shen Mo's blood-stained face. She was wrapped in a makeshift bandage, blood dripping from her shoulder like a pendulum. Her fingertips tapped the projection of the recording file, and Gu Sheng's sweet and distorted voice echoed, "Jiang Chen, the plan requires more sacrifices. Sheng Ying's brood upgrade, you are the incarnation of the shadow ghost." Shen Mo's bloodshot eyes bulged, his fist hit the table and sawdust flew, his voice was like a knife scraping iron, "Jiang Chen, this bastard, masterminds illegal AI experiments, and uses actors as guinea pigs to sell numbers. It's for the chaebol." Listening to this recording, he laughed like crazy and made more than 50 million. The Immortality Module V2 was sold to Eastern European black nets, and the money was made, and killing people was like drinking water. Her roar made the iron chair buzz, and Xiao Yi's stern profile was reflected in her eyes, and her admiration burned. "Genius, you understood this damn recording. Our experts listened to it for 3 days and thought it was a fake, but you revealed it as soon as you peeled it off. Jiang Chen is finished." Li Tai covered the burnt wound on his shoulder and slid against the wall with a pale face. The smell of flesh and blood filled his nostrils. He stared at the projection with wide eyes and his legs were shaking like a sieve. "Boss is right. Manager Jiang hides such a dirty heart under his scarred face. He forced Bai Ning to delete files. Gu Sheng used money as a cover. Boy, you dug deep, you are so amazing, we rough guys are following you, our heads are buzzing." His hoarse roar was mixed with painful groans, his rough hands slapped the ground with a muffled thunder, and his eyes were wet like tears of blood. Xiao Yi ignored the noise, tapping the virtual keyboard with his fingertips like ghosts. The hard disk array hummed and overloaded, and the air was hot with sparks and emitted the smell of electricity. The watermark of the recording matches Jiang Chen's musical notation. The illegal experiments are not limited to the theater. There is a backup in the basement. Shen Mo stood up fiercely. She picked up her gun, the holster clanging, and blood dripping down her arm. "Night detective. I have the evidence, crush his doghouse." She grabbed her raincoat and slammed the door. The heavy rain whipped her face, the police car engine tore through the night, and the tires slipped in sticky arcs of blood, heading straight for the wreckage of the theater. The embers of the fire outside the theater smelled like burnt earth, and the rain smashed the walls like broken bones. The alloy door was twisted and open, and the lights and shadows inside flickered like ghosts dancing. Shen Mo kicked open the side staircase. The iron steps were rusty and dripping with blood. The air was moldy and rotten, mixed with chemicals that stung her nose. She cursed in a low voice, "The underground laboratory, where Jiang Chen hides his dirty work," our bureau intelligence said, it has been sealed for 5 years. Li Tai was behind the palace, panting heavily and shooting with a lantern, blood blisters oozing out from his shoulder injury. Be careful, the wreckage of the drone is still buzzing, Gu Sheng's remote control thing bites people. The iron door at the end of the stairs was welded shut, sparks flew, and Shen Mo blasting gun opened the lock. The fragments cut the air like ice blades, the black hole behind the door swallowed the light, and the cold wind blew out the rotten stench of rust and blood. The test chamber in the laboratory is tilted and collapsed, glass fragments are like a shower of stars, the bulkhead is stained with scorch marks, the floating liquid residue inside is sticky and shiny, and the DNA spots with white coagulated blood are pulsating red, as if the heart has not been extinguished. Shen Mo knelt down and picked up the blood swab, his face was livid, and the mixed blood dripped down his hair, by Ning's. The DNA matches the Bureau's files, she was here before the carotid artery ruptured, and the hatch fingerprint is Jiang Chen's. Her voice was trembling and furious, and her fingertips dug into the bulkhead and scratched out metal. Li Tai leaned closer to the light, his rough face twisted. His legs were weak, the blood is still hot. The AI pipeline in the cabin is broken, and the projected afterimage blinks, like a white ghost asking for help. Boy, this place is so weird, we have been looking around for a long time without touching anything, and you can explode the DNA with just one finger. He knelt down with a hoarse roar, worshipping as if his throat was on fire, holding the blood swab like a holy object with trembling hands. Xiao Yi was unmoved and implanted a portable scanner. The silver light pierced the darkness. The server's backup hard drive pulsed blue. The data flooded back. The screen cracked and started a series of murders. Timetable, by Lin's first heart rhythm collapse, T0:22:47, by Ning's warehouse neck exploded, T1:03:15, next, senior investor Zhao Ting, 8 hours countdown to the main show of Blood Shadow, located in the live broadcast hall of the city's Chable Summit. The timetable is locked. Zhao Ting is the financier of the plutocrats, and he will end up in a death spiral. Xiao Yi's voice was as cold as an ice blade, cutting into the depths of the backup, and the chart bulged with red veins. Li Tai's eyes widened and he gasped like an ox, investor. The whole city will live broadcast to kill him, and the theater will turn into a slaughterhouse. Boy, the backup you restored. Our experts said it was destroyed 5 times, and the formatting was wiped out. How can you work out the schedule? God. His legs were weak and he was kneeling in a pool of blood, and his wet eyes were staring at Xiao Yi's back like he was saving the world. Shen Mo's fist hit the bulkhead and the glass shattered, blood splashed on his face. Jiang Chen paid for the experiment, Gu Sheng controlled the control, Zhao Ting knows too much, we have to save him. The heavy rain hit her head like a drum, she dragged Xiao Yi out, the police car flew low over the ruins, and the neon light swept across her body like a knife. Screens all over the city suddenly lit up, and the pre-show live broadcast of Gu Sheng's public performance began. Water curtains poured down from the towering alloy square. Her black veil fluttered, and her quantum tattoos flashed like living snakes. The audience was crowded with umbrellas and waves, and the synthetic lights pulsed blood red. Death is rebirth. Data is immortal, phantom blood shadow, welcome to join. Her sweet smile twisted, and her eyes glanced at the camera like hooks. The audience screamed frantically, unaware that the laser was hiding a heart rhythm interference wave. Shen Mo stared at the car screen, his bloodshot eyes narrowed, she is hinting that she will kill Zhao Ting in the end. The mole is still acting. Li Tai shouted over the radio, boss, Gu Sheng is handcuffed in the bureau. Is this pre-recorded? But in the blink of an eye, it's weird. An alarm suddenly sounded in the safe house of the police station. Xiao Yi's hard drive array pulsed wildly. Jiang Chen's projection appeared. His suit was straight and the scars disappeared. His voice was as smooth as a snake, Mr. Xiao, a genius hacker. The Chable offered 100 million to delete the U-disk backup. The art of immortality module assembly. You know data and I know money. The projection crystal lamp was dim and the golden light of the Chable building in the background was shining. Li Tai rushed into the door, his rough face ashen. Jiang Chen, this dog. Prison break projection bribery. Boy, don't listen, he has sent an assassin. Before he could finish his words, black shadows sprang up outside the window, drones buzzed and lasers fired, the glass shattered like rain, and the safe house was filled with sparks and the stink of electricity. Xiao Yi sneered and cut off the projection. Go away. Jiang Chen's image was distorted and laughed. Reject. Data garbage, waiting to die. The assassin's motorcycle flew low into the alley. Rain hit the roof of the car like bullets. Shen Mo stepped on the accelerator. The police car flicked and arced on the ground. The tires screamed and covered with blood. The barrel of her gun sprayed out of the window. The bullets ricocheted and shot down a machine. The fragments cut the air and exploded with blood. Chasing. Jiang Chen is a loser. Li Tai's shoulder injury burst and blood spurted out, and he pulled the trigger with a rough roar. Boss, a magic gun. Boy, your monitoring program locked their IP. The motorcycle rolled and smashed into the wall. The assassin jumped on the ground and drew his knife. Shen Mo jumped on the car and hit his face with a muffled sound. Blood foam sprayed on her raincoat. She pressed her knees to her throat. Say. The list of chables. The assassin gasped and twisted. Phantom Consortium. Zhao Ting Summit Main Network, Jiang Chen's order, Gu Sheng virus coder. His eyes were bulging with fear, and the smell of urine was mixed with the rain. Xiao Yi compared the data in the car, the silver light of the scanner pierced the night, and the time point of virus implantation was locked, T0:19:32 before Gu Sheng took the stage, and Blood 3 was activated through the backdoor of Shadow 7. But the screen fissioned and revealed an alibi, Gu Sheng's surveillance footage, and the live broadcast of her blinking in the dressing room at the same moment. The quantum mark matched perfectly. Li Tai stared and knelt down, panting in admiration. The time point proves that she committed the crime, but she was not present. Boy, the data you compared is like a ghost hitting a wall. Gu Sheng's two souls. Our bureau lawyer said it is irrefutable proof. How did she escape? Shen Mo dragged the assassin into the car, blood dripping, and the barrel of the gun was pressed against his head. Genius, this hook is too big, the virus is self-planting. In Zhao Ting's live broadcast room at the Chable Summit, the blood shadow counts down for 6 hours, and the pulse of the main network increases sharply. She looked at Xiao Yi with eyes as wild as flames. The rain hit the wind like a whip, the air was filled with ionized stench, the data curse was unfolding layer by layer, and new crises were following like a shadow. The safe house was relocked, Xiao Yi's fingers danced wildly with the quantum code, the hard disk backup buzzed with overload, and sparks burned his fingertips. He pieced together the IP tree diagram of Zhao Ting's summit, the Chable cloud directly connected to the Dark Web Ghost Alliance V2, the human body limit test module was upgraded, the heart rhythm collapsed and the projection died, and the live broadcast of thousands of people in the city turned into a slaughterhouse. Shen Mo tore open the assassin's collar and projected a list of names. Li Xian, chairman of the Phantom Consortium, the ghost leader of overseas coders, and Jiang Chen's sponsorship chain was pulsing with blood. She punched the assassin in the stomach and vomited blood. Li Xian. He is hosting the summit. Zhao Ting is in the way and needs to be silenced. Li Taichu held up the list with trembling hands and yelled with wet eyes, "Boss, the list is exploded. Boy, your recovery technique. The Bureau owes you a gold statue. We mortals will lose everything in a fight with ghosts, and you will crush us with one stroke." Admiration surged, and he leaned against the door with weak legs and panting like an ox. Xiao Yi coldly cut into the main server monitoring, and abnormal traffic surged. The Chable cloud was connected directly to the old warehouse drone group, with 12 hours left before the next premiere, and the live broadcast of Blood Shadow in the city was about to start. The rain hit the window like a whip, and the synthesized whisper was faint, "Welcome, the sacrifice." Shen Mo gasped and leaned against the wall, whispering in awe, "Genius, this virus points to the global black network. You saved the whole city, but the Ghost Alliance, a bigger shadow is coming." The hard disk pulse did not go out, the data was like an eternal curse, layers of drama curtains opened, and new murderous intentions were quietly weaved. The air in the safe house was as stagnant as a tomb, the window glass buzzed and shattered with the sound of rain whips, the electric stench and blood mixed into a sticky web, the hard drive array hummed and pulsed blue light illuminated Xiao Yi's pale side face, his fingertips were like death's scythes across the virtual interface, the IP tree of the Chabal summit slowly unfolded, and the red pulse bulged like a heart twitch. Shen Mo leaned against the wall and gasped. The blood on the shoulder bandage spread and dripped onto the iron floor. The sound was like a pendulum counting down. She stared at the screen with bloodshot eyes and pinched her white joints with her fists. Genius, Zhao Ting's heartbeat is in chaos. The heat source of the Summit Live broadcast hall is locked. He wore a VR helmet and immersed himself in the Blood Shadow main show. Gu Sheng warmed up with the phrase, "Rebirth begins with Blood Shadow." It's a murderous barb. Her voice was as hoarse as rust scratching her throat, her legs were limp and she was sitting in a pool of blood, and she was burning with admiration. Our top engineers have been watching this mainnet for 3 days. The traffic of the Darknet Ghost Alliance is like a ghost. You can create a sponsorship chain with just one code. That old fox Li Xian is hosting the summit. Zhao Ting is hindering his money, so he has to silence him for a show. Li Tai locked the door behind him. The stench of torn shoulder and burned flesh filled his nostrils. His rough face turned pale and his legs trembled as he knelt down. He held the projection of the list spit out by the assassin in his rough hands. His eyes were bulging with blood as if from crying. The boss is right. Boy, your recovery technique. The bureau said that the backup hard drive was formatted 5 times and was wiped out. The quantum encryption log was left in a shadow of 7 recovery. Blood 3 inches like a heavenly book. You dance with your fingers and explode the Shengying account tree. The ghost leader of overseas programmers has a blood-red blood. We rough guys' heads are blown to pulp, and they are rubbish compared to you. He groaned in pain, and touched the screen with trembling fingers. The chart pulsated and enlarged Gu Sheng's payment records. His legs were as weak as mud and he stared at Xiao Yi's back like a god. Xiao Yi ignored the commotion, his cold eyes reflected blue light, and he tapped his fingertips to speed up the data inventory. The 50 million Phantom Consortium was transferred through a USB flash drive and the Phantom Consortium was reorganized. The deep log of Bai Ning's notes emerged, Jiang Chen was forced to delete, the immortality performance was resurrected after death, the heart rhythm interference blood shadow module was injected, and Gu Sheng was a ghost coder. The silver needle of the portable scanner pierced the backup hard drive, the afterimage of the underground laboratory was replayed, Bai Ning's blood-stained DNA spots blinked for help, and Jiang Chen's fingerprints were ironclad evidence. Screen Fission unfolds premiere monitoring, by Lin T0:22:47 spasm script modified, I dancer twisted and overlapped to force death, Gu Sheng T0:19:32 shadow 7 backdoor blood 3 activated. Improving his strength was like an undercurrent. He implanted an antivirus quantum shield, locked the abnormal traffic on the main server, and directed it to the Summit VR Center. Equipment upgrade, virus nest Shengying pulse isolation, Zhao Ting's heart rate abnormality, 5 hours and 59 minutes left. His voice was as calm as an ice blade cutting through the night. Shen Mo suddenly stood up, blood dripping down her arms and splashing to the ground. She grabbed her raincoat and threw it over her shoulders. The smell of rain and blood filled the holster, enough repairs. Raid the summit, save Zhao Ting, and crush Li Xian's kennel. Li Tai got up with a rough gasp, and the stench of blood blister bursting on his shoulder hit his face. He yelled and picked up the gun, "Boss, I'm blocking the road from behind." "Boy, the Aegis is implanted. Our police car system has been paralyzed twice and brainwashed by hackers. You can block the Ghost Alliance V2 with just one shield. Damn it. Worship is like thunder, legs are shaking, and his eyes are wet and hot like worship of a believer. The heavy rain hit the head like thousands of needles, police cars flew low through the alleys, tires skidded and blood arcs tore through the neon lights. Xiao Yi's car remotely monitored the theater's main server, and the screen pulsed and flickered. The theater's next premiere begins. Gu Sheng's main show reenacts Blood Shadow, the Linkage Summit VR live broadcast throughout the city. The outside of the theater was scorched by fire, earth and rain shattered the walls. The alloy door was twisted and opened, and ghostly lights danced in the opening. The water curtain poured into the square and thousands of people were moving. Synthetic blood-red lights pulsated like heartbeats. Gu Sheng's warm-up sound echoed and broadcast, "Death is rebirth." The audience screamed frenzied umbrella waves, and the unknown laser-hidden wave was gathering momentum to interfere with the heartbeat. Shen Mo sneaked into the auditorium, her black raincoat melting into the shadow. She crouched down in the crowd. The smell of blood mixed with sweat was pungent. She whispered through the earphones, "Genius, I am in the back row of the audience." The heat source of the VR experience area was locked on Zhao Ting. The fat man wearing a helmet was livid and on the verge of twitching. Li Tai gasped over the radio, "Boss, I blocked the back door, the wreckage of the drone is still buzzing, Gu Sheng's remote control smells bad." Xiao Yi danced the quantum code on his fingertips, "Anti-monitoring implant, the AI light is abnormal, the blood shadow module automatically activated." The screens all over the city suddenly lit up, and the theater premiere suddenly came to an end. The AI dancers were sticky and glowing like liquid residue, Gu Sheng's black gauze fluttered and her quantum tattoos were flashing, and her sweet smile twisted and glanced at the camera like a hook. Second act, perfect resurrection. The audience screamed like a wave, the VR experience center compartment pulsed red light, and Zhao Ting's heat source burst to the point of collapse of the heartbeat wave. Shen Mo's heartbeat quickened, and he squinted at the bulkhead with bloodshot eyes. "He's done it. Genius, cut the virus." Xiao Yi cut into the main server coldly, the silver light of the quantum shield pierced the black network, and the virus tree map Blood 3 activated the lock, but the backfire arc sent sparks that burned the air and stunk the air, failed, Brood upgraded to V2, double-layer encryption. Shen Mo smashed the glass of the bulkhead with his fist, and blood splashed on his face. "Fuck. Zhao Ting is down." The climax broke out, the alarm in the VR center blared, Zhao Ting's fat body fell to the ground in convulsions, his heart stopped and there was no trauma. The AI projected the afterimage of Gu Sheng resurrecting Bai Lin, and the synthesized voice echoed sweetly, "Primary actor, reborn as a blood shadow." The second act is perfect. Thousands of people witnessed the live broadcast in the city, the audience screamed in panic and the umbrellas trampled like waves. The second murder. Heart-simulated death, projection of immortality performance, Gu Sheng, this ghost woman, live broadcast in the blink of an eye. Li Tai rushed into the back of the rough roar hall, with blood spurting out from his shoulder injury. "Boss, the projection overlaps Bai Lin's ghost dance, like Bai Ning asking for help." "Boy, the heat source you scanned remotely. Our engineer said that the VR main network is iron-walled, how do you lock the double layer?" His legs were weak and he knelt down with blood worshipping him, and his thick hands trembled as he held the data fragments of Zhao Ting's wristband. Xiao Yi was indifferent, the ghost on his fingertip tapped the deep backup, and the reversal hook popped out. Gu Sheng's encrypted mobile phone apartment IP tree diagram fission, the quantum imprint forged proof, she is not the source, but an undercover agent of the Chable. The log showed, monitoring Jiang Chen's illegal sponsorship, Phantom Consortium Li Xian's instructions, shadow ghost coders implanting overseas. Jiang Chen thought he was controlling, but was actually being used. The screen pulsed with the afterimage of Gu Sheng chatting with Li Xian. "Jiang Chen idiot, delete the evidence to cover up the experiment, I will act double-sided, destroy Zhao Ting and hinder the main network upgrade." Shen Mo glared, blood running down his face. Reversal. Gu Sheng is a double agent, spying on Jiang Chen for Li Xian. Li Tai's thick face twisted and his legs fell to the ground. What? Gu Sheng is not the mastermind? Boy, your comparison, the absence of quantum blink turns out to be a forgery, our bureau lawyer's ironclad evidence collapsed, you dug a deep undercover chain, amazing. Tuanhao's wet eyes were enthusiastic, and his thick fingers touched the screen like a Bible. The lights in the theater control room flashed strangely, and Jiang Chen appeared in a suit with his burnt scars hidden. A projection of his oily smile appeared. Officer Shen, arrest me? The recording is fake, the watermark is synthesized, I only delete evidence to cover up illegal experiments, immortality module art, killing is not mine. Shen Mo's gun barrel was pressed against his head, and his raincoat suppressed blood. Shut up. Underground fingerprint whitening chamber yours, you sponsor the backup schedule. Jiang Chen smiled twistedly. Gu Sheng gave me money, I thought she was an ally, the Chaebol Li Xian was in charge, and I was sold. The data is immortal, the performance is immortal. Li Tai roughly handcuffed his wrist. Boss, caught. The kid confirmed remotely that he denied murder but admitted to deleting files. Divine reasoning. Admiring Lei Ming's legs trembled. During the escort, the police car flew down the alley, its tires screamed and became sticky with blood, a sudden hacker paralyzed the system, the engine stalled and the brakes failed, the car swerved and hit the wall, sparks flew out and the smell of electricity filled the nostrils. Shen Mo shouted, fuck. The Ghost Alliance brainwashing IP. Jiang Chen's projection made a faint laugh, and Li Tai's shoulder burst with blood as he gasped and pulled the gun. The crisis suddenly escalated. Xiao Yi came to the rescue remotely. The quantum shield danced wildly on his fingertips and counterattacked. He regained control and bit the ground to stabilize his tires. The hard drive pulse entered Jiang Chen's mobile phone and the chat history exploded. Li Xian, Jiang Chen, after destroying Zhao Ting, the Summit mainnet v3, the whole city is undergoing human testing, and I am not the only leader of the Phantom Consortium. Shen Mo's bloodshot eyes narrowed, and he grabbed Jiang Chen's leader and trembled. Who else is above Li Xian? Tell me. Jiang Chen gasped and twisted. It's bigger, the ghost empire of the dark web, the data god. It was raining late at night, and the red light of the ruins of the theater was dim. Gu Sheng warmed up and echoed the broadcast. Rebirth, starts with blood shadows. Xiao Yi switched to the main server, and abnormal traffic surged. The heat source of the Summit live broadcast hall was scanned, and Zhao Ting's heart rhythm wave had changed. Shen Mo grabbed the intercom and shouted, surprise the Summit, save people. But the hook on the screen flashed, Gu Sheng's absence mark was forged. Quantum blink instant, double incarnation of Shadow Ghost. The eternal curse of data, murderous intent is quietly woven, the whole city pulses as one, the curtain opens, and a new shadow engulfs the night. The engine of the police car roared like a dying beast, the tires bit through the blood and mud in the rain alley and spattered arcs of rust. The heavy rain on the roof of the car was like thousands of ghosts knocking on the door. The ionized stench and the blood of Jiang Chen's sweat mixed into a sticky mist that filled the narrow cabin. Shen Mo pressed her knees against Jiang Chen's chest, and the cold barrel of the gun pressed against his scarred Adam's apple. Her bloodshot eyes were bulging and her breathing was rapid. Tell me. Who is Li Xian's boss? What the hell is the Ghost Empire data god? Jiang Chen's suit was wrinkled and bloodshot and his collar was leaking, and he was going crazy. The smile twisted and the corners of his lips twitched, yellow teeth flashed with lightning. Officer, you ants, why are you trying to catch me? The movie owner is the god. The global AI theater network is like a spider web. He sells data to resurrect human consciousness, and the performance is just a mask. The eternal black market has billions of orders. His voice was as hoarse as a nail scraper, and his wet eyes were staring at the afterimage projected on the roof of the car. Zhao Ting's body was in convulsions, and Gu Sheng's sweet smile echoed. The third act opens the curtain of death. The whole city. His pulse was abnormal and hidden waves rushed into the cabin. Shen Mo's heart beat wildly and he punched him in the face. His bones shattered and blood spattered on the glass. Shut up. Genius, Jiang Chen's phone dug deep. Li Xian's chat history just exploded. The traffic of the Ghost Empire surged. Have you identified the source? Li Tai stood in the driver's seat behind him, his shoulder injured, his flesh and blood bursting, and the stench hit his nostrils like a rotting corpse. His rough face was white with sweat mixed with rain and seeping into his eye sockets. His thick hands were shaking and holding the helm, his legs were as soft as mud. Boss, this rainy alley is sealed. Drones are buzzing and following us. The theater security has been upgraded and the laser network is fully activated. Our bureau's drone team said that global AI theaters are linked, and the film owner a pulsating heartbeat in the theater. Boy, you have just rescued the car from the remote shield, and now you are poaching the movie master. The quantum experts in the bureau have been staring at you for half a year, and you are going to destroy the empire with just a finger? He screamed in pain, and the rearview mirror reflected Xiao Yi's pale face like a ghost. His body was burning with adoration, and his legs were trembling and he slammed on the brakes. Xiao Yi sat cross-legged in the back cabin, his cold eyes reflected pulsing blue light, his fingertips were like ghost sickles across the virtual interface of Jiang Chen's mobile phone. The quantum code hook penetrated into the deep encryption, the screen fissured and unfolded a global tree map, Eastern European coders' nests, East Asian plutocratic clouds, North American black market servers. Red veins bulged like thousands of insects squirming, Shadow Master IP core, controlling 300 AI theaters, performing data to cover up human experiments. Consciousness is uploaded for eternity, sold to the rich black market. The blood shadow module is a test needle, the brain wave is captured at the moment when the heart rhythm collapses, and the projection is resurrected for an infinite tour. The torrent of data pours like a waterfall of blood, the electric arc sparks, the air is hot, and the smell of electricity fills the nose. Jiang Chen stares and his Adam's apple bulges. Scroll, impossible. How do you break through the double-layer quantum wall? The Shadow Master's firewall has melted the FBI host. We programmers say that you are a heavenly book level, you monster. His voice trembled like a candle in the wind, the scars were twisted and wet with fear. Shen Mo squeezed his white joints with his fists and blood dripped down his arms. Genius, God. Global Network 1 code tree. Come on, the movie owner is selling immortality data. Zhao Ting, Bai Lin, they are test subjects. Li Tai gasped and turned around, his eyes were as wet as crying. Boy, what a dick. The bureau engineer knelt down and licked him for half a year, and you locked the source of the empire in the blink of an eye. We rough guys' brains will explode with you, and we can compare with you in a trash can. He yelled in admiration with weak legs, and hit the steering wheel with a loud bang. Shen Mo tugged at Jiang Chen's collar, and his bloody raincoat suppressed his head hitting the bulkhead with a muffled sound. Gu Sheng. Her dual identity, please tell me clearly. Li Xian is undercover or the spy of the film master? Jiang Chen gasped for blood and coughed, and the stench filled the air with yellow phlegm. He burst out laughing and rolled his eyes. Gu Sheng expresses the face of a banshee, the real shadow ghost incarnation. She monitors me and Li Xian sells it, pays overseas programmers to implant V3, performs immortality for the whole city to test, and kills Zhao Ting to appetize you. In the third act, the whole city's broadcast suddenly pierced, and the afterimage of Gu Sheng's black veil echoed sweetly. Audiences, data eternal life, who is the next resurrector? The heat in the live broadcast room of the theater summit surged, and the audience screamed and stepped on the umbrella wave. The pulse wave rushed into the police car like a ghost claw scratching the heart. Shen Mo's heart shrank and punched Jiang Chen's nose bone, causing blood to arc. Fuck. Double-faced bitch, movie master spy. Genius, the IP tree of Gu Sheng's apartment is locked, and the server is raided. Li Tai nodded roughly, blood on his shoulder shattered and splashed on the glass. Boss, I'm going to block the road in the rain alley. This guy is poaching all over the world, and God's reasoning is irrefutable. Li Tai's legs were shaking with admiration. Heavy rain pours like ink, police cars fly low over neon ruins, tires tear through water curtains, and blood-red neon reflections make faces. Gu Sheng's mansion stands in an alloy tower in the city center. On the surface, the lights and shadows are gorgeous like a theater screen, but in reality, the laser network is pulsing. Drones are buzzing and circling, laser scanning heat sources like death's scythe. Shen Mo shook off his raincoat and melted into the night shadows. Li Tai was breathing heavily from behind, sealing the entrance of the alley and sweeping the sky with his gun. "Boss, the security of the mansion has been upgraded to V3. The theater linkage alarms are all on. Our drone team is paralyzed and the firewall is melting. You sneak in, little, breaking the door remotely." Xiao Yi's portable terminal pulsed, and the quantum hook danced wildly on his fingertips and pierced the alloy lock. Electric arcs flew through the cracks in the door, sparks exploded, and the smell of electricity filled his nose. The back door is isolated, and the server heat source is on the second floor underground. The door latch broke with a clang. Shen Mo kicked into the corridor, the rain and blood stains on the black marble floor reflected the dazzling light, the rotten air and the stink of the quantum hotline were mixed and pungent. She lowered her gun and raised her bloodshot eyes and squinted. "Genius, the apartment is dead silent, Gu Sheng's warm-up live broadcast is still there, the drone did not chase, but it was inconsistent. The lights and shadows overlapped like AI ghost dance." Li Tai gasped over the radio, "Boss, I blocked the exit, the shoulder blood stinks to death, the laser network is buzzing, you dig the server, boy Aegis escort." The crystal chandelier in the living room of the mansion flashes blood red, the blood spots on the sofa loom like white finger marks. Xiao Yi's scanner's silver needle pricks the cracks in the wall and pulses, the hidden door slides open and the elevator plummets to the ground with a low groan. The air turns cold like a tomb, and the rotten blood and the buzzing of the server fan hit the eardrums. Shen Mo pressed forward with his knees, the barrel of the gun pressed against the door. "Genius, the heat source is locked, the firewall is pulsating in red." Gu Sheng's server, the Shadow Master's backdoor. Xiao Yi tapped his fingertips to implant the antivirus, and the screen expanded into a tree shape. Bai Ning's complete log appeared, the Shadow Master's test data is revived, consciousness uploaded to AI for eternity. Bai Lin's brainwave capture projection tour is unlimited. Jiang Chen sponsored the fool, I plugged in a U-disk to ask for help. Gu Sheng Shadow Ghost Payment Coder. Global drama. The black market seller in the hospital is worth billions. The projection replayed Bai Ning's bloody face and blinked. Resurrection means eternal imprisonment, the data god sells his soul. Shen Mo glared and punched the ground with blood splattering. Complete log. Bai Ning has witnessed everything, the Shadow Master is trapped in immortality, and his consciousness is a slave forever. Li Tai roared in admiration through the earphones, "Boss, the boy is restored to integrity, god level." The backup expert in the bureau said that Bai Ning's log is in ashes. "You dig it and wink, we will kneel down with our heads." The crisis suddenly broke out, the server backfired and arced like a silver snake biting the wrist. Xiao Yi's terminal exploded with sparks, the smell of electricity burned his nose, the screen was blood red and fission. Death notice projection. Gu Sheng smiled sweetly in black gauze. Xiao Yi, genius hacker, protagonist of the third act, heart rhythm interference V3 injection, data resurrected to perform immortality. The virus nest V3 pulses into the hard disk, the silver light of the quantum shield shatters and buzzes and disconnects. Xiao Yi's pale face glows red, cold sweat oozes on his forehead and his fingertips tremble slightly. Firewall upgrade. Global linkage, the backlash locked on my heat source. The movie owner announced the next target, me. Shen Mo's heartbeat collapsed and he kicked the wall with a dull sound, blood dripping down his face, and yelled, "Fuck. Locking you. Genius, disconnect." She grabbed the terminal and smashed it to the ground, sparks flying. The electrician's legs were weak and he yelled, "Boy, are you poisoned? The Shadow Master is watching you. Our top shield was broken 3 times. Your Aegis blocked V2 and now V3 is brain-eating. It's scary even if you are a god. Boss, withdraw." The fearful worshipper was breathing heavily and wet, with the smell of blood on his shoulder, and he was crying. Shen Mo dialed the superior's encrypted channel. After the earphones were shrill and silent, a deep male voice was as hoarse as rust. Shen Mo, stop. The chaebols are influencing the top brass of the police station. Li Xian donated money to infiltrate the internal affairs. The movie master's data empire. You have stepped on a thunderstorm by arresting Jiang Chen. Return to the headquarters. She narrowed her bloodshot eyes and pinched her fist to cut off the power. The barrel of the gun hit the table and the glass shattered. Infiltration. The station is ruined. Genius, police doghouse, the film owner locks your heart rate, we are alone. The lights and shadows of the mansion overlapped, and the drones danced. The buzzing laser fire source approaching outside the window, the rain hitting the glass like a drum countdown. The third act of the live broadcast across the city began. Zhao Ting, Bai Lin, and Bai Ning's afterimages of the tour group laughed together. Resurrection, it's the genius turn. Pulse waves rushed into the blood vessels. Xiao Yi's fingertip ghost reorganized the remaining shield. The screen hook flashed and new deep traffic surged. The real IP of the movie master blinked and disappeared from the global network. The death notice was swallowed up like a drama screen. The murderous intention overwhelmed the black clouds and crushed the city, and the lonely boat was shaking in the rainy and bloody night. The underground server room is like a tomb abyss. The fan buzzes against the eardrums like thousands of insects gnawing at bones. The moldy rotting blood and the scorched odor of electric arcs mix into a sticky poisonous mist. The candle's shadow flickers on Xiao Yi's pale side face, cold sweat penetrates his forehead like ice needles, and the fingertips tremble slightly like steel hooks reassembling the fragments of a shield. The screen burst into blood-red fission, and the V3 virus nest pulse rushed into the quantum code stream like a silver snake biting the wrist. Gu Sheng's sweet smile echoed in Black Veil. Genius hacker, the protagonist of the third act, heart rhythm interference injection, data resurrection and immortality performance. The pulse abnormality wave was linked to the blood vessels globally, and the heart was like a hammer hitting the chest. Xiao Yi compared the timeline in his mind like lightning. By Lin T0:22:47 heart rhythm collapse premiere without a trace. Jiang Chen deleted files 5 formatting traces but no signatures were implanted in the IP tree. By Ning's T1:03:15 neck exploding U-disk distress log pointed to Gu Sheng's shadow account payment to overseas coders. Zhao Ting's T2 summit heat source change projection was perfect. Jiang Chen sponsored idiots to cover up traces of deletion, but it was not the source of hackers. The virus tree signature, shadow ghost, quantum watermark matched the back door of Gu Sheng's apartment. The two-faced bitch forged an alibi mark, and the main show reenacted the blood shadow implantation V3. Genius, disconnection. Shen Mo's bloodshot eyes bulged, and the iron grip on Jiang Chen's chest with his knees yanked Xiao Yi's arm. Blood from the raincoat dripped down her face like tears. Her heartbeat collapsed and she roared. The barrel of the gun hit the server shell, sparks exploded, and the stench burned her nose. V3 eats your heat source. The movie owner locked the third act. We are alone. The rotten top brass of the police station infiltrated Li Xian's kennel. Jiang Chen's handcuffed wrists were paralyzed with scars and twists, and Yellow Teeth's lightning-fast smile collapsed. The monster hacker, the backlash has just begun. Gu Sheng Shadow Ghost gave me money to implant, you caught the wrong ant. His voice was hoarse, and his eyes were wet and fearful as he stared at Xiao Yi's ghostly dance on his fingertips. Li Tai was breathing heavily like a dying beast, his shoulder was injured, his flesh was scorched, blood bubbles were exploding, and the smell hit his nostrils. Boy, hit V3. The shield at the top of the round has its brains shattered, and our back legs are weak. The shield is reorganized, how do you turn your brain around? Xiao Yi's cold eyes reflected blue pulses, and the psychological game flashed like quantum entanglement. The movie master's global tree-like red veins control 300 AI theaters. The black market for immortality sells consciousness uploads, sacrifices actors' brainwaves to capture projection tours for unlimited rebirth of conglomerate executives. By Lin appetizing. By Ningpai asked for help using a USB flash drive. Zhao Ting blocked the way and silenced her. Gu Sheng paid the code and Nong Xingying's account watermark was disguised as Jiang Chen's synthetic recording. The timeline was correct. Jiang Chen deleted the file IP and hacked locally with clumsy non-quantum level. She was the double agent who was the source of the virus implantation. The self-made firewall silver shield danced wildly on the fingertips and was reborn. The quantum hook backfired on the V3 mother nest. The screen tree shape was reversed. The red veins withered, the electric arc flowed backwards, the air was hot and the smell was splashing. Counterattack. Gu Sheng was exposed. Shengying account overseas transfer matching implant was activated at T0:19:32. Blood 3 was activated. The pseudo-quantum mark was not present at the end of her main show. Jiang Chen only deleted the traces to cover up the sponsorship money. The flood of data reversed. The diarrhea was like a waterfall of blood rolling back, the virus fragments were burned, sparks exploded, buzzed and disconnected, Shen Mo glared, his Adam's apple rolled, his fist pinched his white joints, and blood dripped to the ground. Oh my God. The timeline is irrefutable. Jiang Chen is stupid and clumsy at deleting files. Gu Sheng's shadow ghost implanted the virus. The genius overcame logic. We set up a trap to lure her. Her voice trembled like fire, worshipping her whole body. Her bloody face was wet and she stared at Xiao Yi's profile like a ghost. Li Tai's earphones thundered and roared, his legs weak and worshipping the wet heat. Boy, the self-made shield backfired on the V3. The local quantum expert knelt down for half a year and his head was gray. You blinked and treed the world's pulse, and your head knelt on the ground like a gold hanging on the neck. Boss, the laser sweep heat source is close, and the mansion blocked us from fighting in the alley. Jiang Chen glared, his scars bulging and twitching in fear. Impossible, you broke me and deleted files to prove my innocence. Gu Sheng, bitch, sold me to spy on Li Xian, the movie master's top god. Shen Mo kicked him and coughed up blood and smelled yellow phlegm. She shook her raincoat and lowered her head into the night shadow. Genius, the third act of Gu Sheng's warm-up live broadcast has begun. Let's pretend to cooperate in trapping. Jiang Chen, you acted and confessed to expose her shadow ghost. The live broadcast baited her to appear in the abandoned area of the theater to change the Shadow Master's IP. Xiao Yi nodded, implanting a disguised message quantum to forge the tree shape of Gu Sheng's mobile phone. Bai Ning has a complete log backup in hand, and is willing to trade the Shadow Master's core for her freedom. The message pulse flashed out and the arc flashed, and the screen hook locked in response. Gu Sheng's black gauze projection blinked with a sweet smile. Deal. Abandoned Area C-17, Data Immortality, whoever is resurrected will perform. The pulse wave trembled in the heart, Xiao Yi's cold sweat seeped slightly. The game in his mind, the trap is bound to come. She pretended to cooperate to activate the AI puppet, but the loophole in the puppet system was repeatedly ambushed in the old warehouse, and the hacker's true identity was exposed. The heavy rain covered the city with ink, the police car roared and tore through the curtains of water, the blood-red neon faces flew across the ruins, the three people dumped the mansion's alloy tower into the alleyway, the tires chewed the mud and splashed rust arcs, Li Tai gasped heavily behind the palace, and the drone buzzed. Boss, this guy is setting up a trap. Oracle. Gu Sheng took the bait. I'll search the remaining laser network in the C-17 abandoned area first. The blood on my shoulders makes my legs tremble. But with the god hacker, my brains will explode. Shen Mo pressed his knees against Jiang Chen's back cabin, his eyes were bloodshot as he pressed the barrel of the gun. Good show, explode her implants. V3 proves Jiang Chen's innocence in exchange for immunity, otherwise his head will be ruined. Jiang Chen twisted his yellow teeth with an epileptic smile. Deal. She, the shadow ghost, sold me eternal life money, and sacrificed the actors in the experiment for brainwave resurrection of the plutocrats. I sponsor stupidity. A rusty curtain stood in the abandoned area of the theater, the black marble cracks oozed blood, and the rotten smell of mold filled the nostrils. The chandelier flashed blood red like ghost eyes, the air quantum hotline buzzed harshly, the AI dancer projection overlapped and distorted the tour. Bai Lin laughed convulsively, resurrection, eternal imprisonment. Gu Sheng's black gauze floated on the central platform, the quantum tattoos on her beautiful face blinked sweetly, and raindrops ran down her neck like blood. Genius hacker, Officer Shen. Have you restored Bai Ning's log to integrity? The core IP transaction of the film owner, the network of 300 theaters around the world. She held the encryption stick in her hand and pulsed blue light, and her fingertips trembled slightly like AI glitches. Shen Mo raised the blood to his arm, and roared in a low voice, Shengying account payment coder is an ironclad certificate, timeline T0:19:32, your blood 3 activation implanted by Lin's heart rhythm, Jiang Chen only deleted the files, idiot. Jiang Chen knelt down and handcuffed his wrists, smiling crazily with the burned scars, bitch. You're in jail. See me selling Li Xian, the movie owner uses my sponsorship money to test V3 in the whole city. Gu Sheng smiled sweetly and her eyes were wet with fear, deal. IP first. The stick threw an arc flash, Xiao Yi caught the hook and pierced it into the tree shape, a fake vein of fog, but in reality a trap was activated. A sudden crisis broke out, and the iron gates of the abandoned area roared and shattered. The AI puppet's steel body sprang out with laser eyes and flashed red light at the heat source. The synthetic laughter echoed like nails scraping iron, resurrection, death. The puppet's arm blades tore through the air and roared, raining mud. Arcs of blood spattered, Li Tai roared at the back, guns exploded, lasers shattered, glass shattered, fuck. Ambush the AI group, lasers devour brains and buzz, do you foresee the situation? His shoulder cracked with blood, the stench hit his nose, his legs fluttered, and he rolled away, roaring in adoration. Shen Mo kicked Gu Sheng's black gauze and splashed mud, and pressed her knee against the gun on her beautiful neck, blood dripping from it, bitch trap. Genius, horrible puppet. Gu Sheng struggled with a sweet smile and twisted, the third act, you perform. The puppet encircled the steel feet with a muffled sound of smashing marble, the laser scorched the air and burned the nose, and the V3 wave from the heart rhythm interfered with the blood vessels and the chest was as tight as a pincer. Xiao Yi sat cross-legged in the rain and mud, his cold eyes pulsed red, the ghost sickle on his fingertips passed through the loophole in the puppet system, the old warehouse C-17 repeated the coder's negligence, the quantum hook pierced the core tree, the data torrent reversed the arc and flowed back, the silver snake bit the steel body, exposed the truth of the experiment, sacrificing actors' brain waves to capture and project immortality, replacing the top executives of the chaebol. With unlimited tours, black market billions of orders. The screen fissioned and Gu Sheng's mobile phone appeared in a tree shape. Shen Ying's account was directly connected to the core of the movie owner, which is located in the underground heart of the theater's main server. The puppet's steel body convulsed and buzzed and disconnected, the cyclops eye shattered, sparks exploded, and the smell of electricity flew everywhere. Gu Sheng stared and his Adam's apple rolled with fear and collapsed, monster. How do you break the puppet's quantum wall? The core of the Shadow Master, the underground main server of the theater, the consciousness is uploaded to sell the soul forever. Her voice trembled like a candle in the wind, the black gauze was wet and twisted with blood, and Shen Mo's fist hit her face and the bones shattered and blood spurted out, exposed. The genius crushes and hacks, the physical location of the Shadow Master's server. Tai Hupan gasped as he climbed up and swept his gun around the remaining body, worshipping thunder with wet eyes, boy, what a horror. The AI team was paralyzed in the blink of an eye, and the Bureau's drone team knelt down for half a year without a trace. You forced the bitch to confess her truth against the tree, and the dick exploded into brains and the gold statue was hung forever. Jiang Chen the paralyzed yellow teeth flashed in fear, impossible, the core server alarm linked to the whole world, she sold me the dream of eternal life. Gu Sheng fiercely broke away from the black veil and escaped from the rain, and then replied with a smile, data immortality, the fourth act begins. The three of them shook mud and sneaked out of the abandoned area. The rain and rust were like a drum countdown. Xiao Yi's portable terminal pulsed and locked in a new tree shape, the heat source of the theater's core server suddenly bulged, the backup hard drive schedule was complete and serial murders occurred. The global network of the movie owner's IP gathered in the underground heart, and physical invasion was needed to dismantle the quantum wall. Shen Mo gasped for blood and helped Xiao Yi's arm, his bloodshot eyes were wet with enthusiasm. Genius, the situation is reversed. Gu Sheng exposed the source of the implant, Jiang Chen's witness changed the list of moles, and we went straight to the core alone. Li Tai yelled from behind and his legs trembled. Boy, the homemade shield puppet is lifelike, worshipping and fearing hybrids. But the core alarm is buzzing. Hot, the laser network is fully activated for global linkage. Is it still a god-level one? Pulse fluctuations rippled through the city, and the heartbeat was in turmoil. Gu Sheng's Black Veil was broadcast live at the theater peak. The Resurrector is about to perform. Black clouds crushed the rainy night, murderous intent was swallowed up like a drama screen, the lone boat drifted straight to the core abyss, and the alarm murmured and counted down. The heavy rain poured down like ink, smashing the rusty fragments of the theater's exterior wall like weeping blood and broken bones. Blood-red neon ghost faces twisted and passed over the broken walls. The police car roared and tore through the water curtain and dived into the entrance of the underground passage. The tires bit the mud and spattered the rust arc in a bloody and pungent way. Li Tai was breathing heavily like a dying animal, his shoulder was injured, his flesh and blood were bursting, and the stench hit his nostrils. He was followed by a buzzing drone and a laser scanning the heat source. His legs were weak and trembling, and he roared, "Boy, the gods have predicted an ambush in the abandoned area." But the core heart. The global alarm is linked to the red pulse, the laser network is buzzing, and the local quantum shield has been wiped out after half a year. How can your brain be turned to death? The blood is boiling when Shen Mo kneels down on Jiang Chen's iron clamp hand, and the blood on his raincoat runs down his face like tears, and the gun barrel, the yellow fangs in his throat were twisted with lightning. Shut up, you idiot. Act as a witness and explode Gu Sheng's implant, otherwise your brain will explode. Genius, go straight to the heart of the server, V3 pulse abnormality wave will eat the heart, we will fight alone. Jiang Chen cuffed his wrists and knelt down to burn the scars. Twitching, his eyes were wet and he stared at the pale face of Xiao Yi in the front seat with fear. Monster, the core quantum wall is double-layered, the Shadow Master's global tree-shaped red veins are unbreakable. You are dead. Gu Sheng's shadow ghost incarnation warms up the fourth live broadcast, and the Resurrector performs eternal imprisonment. Xiao Yi sat cross-legged in the front cabin, his cold eyes reflecting blue pulse terminals protruding like trees, his fingers trembling slightly like steel hooks crossing the keyboard and ghosts dancing, the portable scanner beeping piercingly as he dismantled the encrypted door of the channel. The rotten electric odor and heart rhythm interference V3 wave rushed through the bloodline like a hammer hitting the chest. Cold sweat and ice needles seeped into his forehead, lightning in his mind. Comparison. Xingying account is directly connected to the core IP global network of 300 theaters. Prepared hard disk timetable serial murder case by Lin's heart rhythm collapse T0:22:47. By Ning's neck exploded U disk asking for help T1:03:15. Zhao Ting's T2 summit heat source changes perfectly and the projection is perfect. Gu Sheng T0:19:32 blood 3 activation implants ironclad evidence to disguise absence, underground heart heat source bulges, consciousness uploads eternal life. To sell souls in the black market, Chables resurrect and tour infinitely. During the live broadcast at the top of the theater, Gu Sheng's sweet smile and black gauze echoed in the eardrums like nails scraping iron. The Resurrector is about to perform. The genius hacker in the third act, the heart rate is V3 locked. The pulse abnormality wave is linked to the whole world and rushes into the blood vessels. The alloy door at the end of the passage roared and shattered, the core server room exploded like an abyss of hell, thousands of fans buzzed and hit the eardrums like thousands of insects gnawing at bones, the sea of blood-red lights pulsated and silver snakes danced wildly, reflecting the twists and turns of the quantum wall, the double-layered blue shields, and the backup hard disks stacked like cracks in tombstones oozing blood, water, mold, rot, bloody electricity, smelly, sticky, poisonous. Fog burning nose, AI projection overlapped by Lin's spasmodic smile and distorted the tour, delete, resurrection, perform eternal life. Shen Mo threw off his raincoat and melted into the night shadow, lowered his gun, raised blood and dripped down his arm, his bloodshot eyes bulged and his Adam's apple rolled and growled, genius, the double-layer quantum wall alarm is buzzing and linked globally, Li Xian's doghouse is infiltrated, the top management of the game is blocking us. V3 is heart-wrenching and our legs are weak. How can we break it alone? Li Tai gasped and rolled to avoid the laser fire source. The glass shattered and sparks exploded. His shoulders burst with blood, the smell hit his nose and his legs were weak. He shouted fervently, boy, the heat source is locked on our brains. The top of the game has been gray for half a year. Shadow, you made a shield against a tree to force a bitch to confess her true feelings. She is a hybrid of fear, and her dick is so explosive that it still presses her head. Jiang Chen collapsed on his knees, handcuffed his wrists, burned the scars, twisted his yellow teeth, and laughed madly, haha, there is no solution to the quantum wall. Gu Sheng gave me money to implant it, and the backlash of you ants has only begun. The Shadow Master God resurrected me to live forever. Suppression and despair are like black clouds crushing, V3 waves are surging, heartbeats are beating hammers in the chest. Xiao Yi is sitting cross-legged in the middle of the blood and mud with cold sweat, his fingertips are dancing wildly, a self-made firewall silver shield is reborn, quantum hooks are piercing the wall base, the screen is fissuring, tree-like red veins are withering, electric arcs are flowing backwards, hot air, electric stink, burning nose. Exposed. The backup hard drive was formatted 5 times with the remaining blood shadow module. Gu Sheng personally injected Shadow 7 at T0:19:32 to interfere with the heart rhythm, and Bai Lin died at the premiere. Jiang Chen watched it live and deleted the files to cover up the sponsorship money. The torrent of data reversed like a waterfall of blood and rewinded, and the hard drive hummed and reorganized. The timetable emerges. Bai Lin's spasm projection is perfect without trauma and cardiac arrest. Gu Sheng's black gauze sweet smile transfuses blood 3 to activate the virus tree signature shadow ghost quantum watermark. Jiang Chen's scarred face is covered up by the synthetic recording of fearful spectators. Shen Mo glares and violently raises his fist to pinch his white joints, and his Adam's apple is dripping with blood. Her whole body was burned with admiration. My God. There is irrefutable evidence that Gu Sheng personally witnessed Jiang Chen. The timeline crushes logic. Genius monster, we will crush her live. Her voice was trembling, she was fierce and wet, staring at the side of Xiao Yi's face like a ghost, her bloody face twisted in excitement. The gun blasted the laser beam, and the remaining neck glass exploded. Li Tai's eyes were filled with wet admiration and thunder roared, boy, in the blink of an eye, you broke through the double quantum wall and reversed the tree backup. The bureau expert knelt on the ground like a golden statue and hung it on your neck. Your brain will explode and your dick will explode and you will be hung forever. The blood in your shoulders is so stinky that it makes your legs weak, but it is so refreshing and bloody. When the live broadcast resumed, the whole scene burst into red. Gu Sheng's figure in black gauze appeared in the center of the premiere stage. His fingertips penetrated the server to activate Shadow 7 and Blood 3. The silver snake virus entered Bai Lin's neck ring and AI light pulses. Heart rhythm interference waves engulfed the actor's blood. Bai Lin fell to the ground in convulsions and overlapped with projections. Synthetic laughter echoed during the tour, and Jiang Chen's scarred face stood beside Huang Yashan and whispered in fear, perfect. Sacrifice the appetizer, the Chable will live forever in the black market with billions. The global audience hotline exploded, the Chable stock price screamed fissioned and collapsed, and the dark network black market order withered and arced and burned, buzzing and disconnected. Xiao Yi's fingertip hook locked the heat source of the main server's heart, and the quantum scythe cut through multiple encrypted residual shields. The torrent uploaded to the public network poured out like the Milky Way. Shattered, the consciousness was uploaded to the truth about eternal imprisonment and selling souls. Gu Sheng's shadow ghost turned into a double agent and was fully exposed. The server room trembled and the fan roared, the AI projection collapsed and the white condensed afterimage blinked and begged for help, resurrection, death. A sudden crisis broke out. The core cabin door was shattered and the black gauze floated in. Gu Sheng's beautiful face was covered with quantum tattoos that were sweet and twisted in the blink of an eye. Raindrops of blood and mud dripped down her neck like bloodshot threads. She held the remote control pulse blue light of the escape cabin. Her fingertips trembled and glitched like an AI crash. Genius hacker, you have irrefutable proof of resuming the live broadcast? But I'm not Gu Sheng, I am a clone of Bai Ning. The film master experimented with Bai Ning's brain waves to capture the projection and sell his soul forever. I double-monitored Jiang Chen and Li Xian and implanted it in the city for testing. Her voice was hoarse and her eyes were wet with fear. The black gauze was wet and twisted, and the alloy shell of the escape cabin was buzzing to warm up. Shen Mo's bloodshot eyes bulged and she pressed her knees. The gun exploded, the laser glass shattered, sparks and electricity stunk. She roared, blood sprayed and rolled low, bitch clone monster. Bai Lin, your own friend, Jiang Chen witnessed it, the eternal trap sells your soul to the whole city. The gun barrel is flaming. There was a clanging sound, the bullet tore through the blue shield of the escape cabin, the fission arc flowed backwards, the cabin door was charred black, exploded, and the stinking smell burned her nose, blocking Gu Sheng's escape. She struggled and smiled sweetly, her Adam's apple cracked, the fourth act. The movie owner is resurrected and performs around the world. Li Tai roared roughly as the rear gun shot the AI's mutilated body, the steel feet shattered the marble, his eyes were wet and he shouted in admiration, "Boss, the magic gun is ruining the cabin." The boy's live broadcast crashed the Chable's stock price, and the cloned bitch exposed his brainwave capture. His dick exploded and his brains exploded like gold for eternity. Jiang Chen eyes bulging with burning scars, twitching and paralyzed with fear, yellow teeth flashed, impossible, you broke the core quantum wall and uploaded it to the public network. Gu Sheng and Bai Ning clone sold my dream of immortality. The film's protagonist is the chairman of the Li Xian Chable. He launched the final performance to destroy the evidence, and 300 theaters around the world directly broadcasting consciousness and uploading the whole city's heart rate V4 to devour it. His voice trembled like a candle in the wind, he cuffed his wrists and collapsed and exploded. Shen Mo kicked his stomach and coughed up blood, coughing up stinky phlegm. He pressed his knee to the gun and his throat dripped with blood. Idiot witness, all moves. Li Xianying takes charge of the doghouse and infiltrates the police station. The final performance of the rotten executive was broadcast live to the world. Xiao Yi's cold eyes flashed red and the pulse stopped. The tree-like evidence implanted in the fingertips of the public network spread. The heat source of the server's heart withered and the silver snake devoured the arc. It exploded and buzzed and disconnected. The global hotline thundered and the plutocratic empire collapsed and was swallowed by black mist. Gu Sheng's cloned black gauze twisted and struggled on the ground, and the quantum tattoo burrs cracked and formed into a smile. Data is immortal, the final performance begins. The remote control pulses from her fingertips burst out, and the live broadcast at the top of the theater suddenly projected Li Xian's evil smile, resurrectionist performance, evidence overturned destroy the V4 global linkage. The pulse fluctuation wave escalates and the heartbeat hammer strikes wildly, the V4 warms up and the low countdown disappears, the server room's blood-red sea of light pulses and the silver snake is reborn. The rain hits the rust like a bloody battle, the lonely boat floats on the edge of the abyss, and the murderous drama engulfs the world. Shen Mo held Xiao Yi's arm, his bloodied face was wet and panting wildly, genius, crushed the clones and exposed the live broadcast to collapse the stock price. But the director Li Xian finally performed V4 to devour the city, we fight to the end. Li Tai's legs were weak and he roared with admiration and fear of the hybrid, boy, the god is terrified forever. The brain is exploded, but the red veins of the global tree are rekindled. Damn! Jiang Chen's yellow teeth flashed with fear and laughed to the edge of death, the core abyss groaned, and the curtain of the fourth act slowly opened. The sea of blood-red lights in the server room pulsed wildly like thousands of insects gnawing at the bones. The V4 heart rhythm interference wave was linked globally and rushed into the blood vessels. The iron hammer hit the chest randomly. Xiao Yi's Adam's apple rolled with cold sweat and ice needles oozed from his forehead. The live broadcast at the peak of the theater highlighted Li Xian's projection of a hideous smile, distorted and glitchy like an AI crash. Resurrectionist performance, the fourth act begins. 300 theaters around the world uploaded their consciousness simultaneously, and the evidence of destruction V4 devoured the whole city. His hoarse voice echoed in the eardrums, accompanied by the thunder of the global hotline, and the screen flooded with scenes from 300 theaters. The audience fell to the ground in convulsions and the projection overlapped the Sweet Smile Tour. The blue light of the heartbeat rushed through the neck ring and bloodshot threads bulged, and the smell of rotten electricity and bloody rain mixed with poisonous mist burned the nose. Li Tai's shoulder was injured, his flesh was scorched, and blood blisters exploded. A smelly smell filled his nose. His legs were limp. He rolled to the ground to dodge the laser fire. The glass shattered and sparks exploded. He was breathing heavily like a dying beast. His eyes were moist and frightened, and he roared, "Boy, the global tree-shaped red veins of the God Bureau V4 have rekindled and ate the brain. The Bureau's quantum expert has knelt for half a year and turned into ashes. What's going on with your brain? I'm afraid that my legs are weak and the blood is boiling. In the final performance of the movie host Li Xian, we will all be wiped out." Shen Mo's blood-stained face was twisted with excitement and fear as he held Xiao Yi's arms. Blood flowed down his face like tears. The barrel of the gun pressed against Gu Sheng's black gauze residual body and his Adam's apple was pulsing. Genius, the live broadcast of the collapse of the stock price is not enough to expose the irrefutable evidence. V4 is linked to the world. How can we break the bloody battle in the abyss alone? Her voice was trembling, bloodshot eyes were glaring at Xiao Yi's pale face like a ghost. Gu Sheng cloned the black gauze and twisted and struggled on the ground. The quantum tattoo burrs cracked and synthesized into laughter. The fingertip remote control pulsed blue light and activated the backup AI cabin to buzz and warm up. Her sweet voice was hoarse and distorted and rushed into the public network torrent, public attention. Xiao Yi hacker terrorists have invaded the core, fake create irrefutable live broadcast to destroy the eternal performance. I am Gu Sheng's victim, Bai Ning's consciousness is forever asking for help. The global screen fissioned and her figure in black gauze appeared in the 300 theater. The audience's hotline exploded and screamed in panic. Li Xian's projection magnified the glitches and flashed with a ferocious smile, correct. The hacker virus V4 backlashed, the evidence was deleted simultaneously around the world, and the consciousness was uploaded to the black market resurrection performance for eternity. Jiang Chen cuffed his wrists with burning scars, twitching, yellow teeth, lightning, and paralyzed with fear. He struggled against the iron clamps and collapsed. He said, "The film owner, give me a chance to escape. Send a drone to bomb their safe house, and I will work together to destroy the evidence." Shen Mo kicked his stomach, made a stuffy sound, coughed up blood, coughed up yellow phlegm, and put a gun on his throat. The dream of saving immunity is shattered. But at the end of the passage, the alloy door was blasted to pieces and drones were buzzing and laser scanning heat sources were swarming. Jiang Chen's yellow teeth flashed and the scars were twisted. The gift of the Shadow Master. V4 eats your brains, Gu Sheng's clone misleads the public, I will escape from prison hands are flattened. Pulses from the hidden implanted chips on his fingertips came out, and the blood and mud rolled away from his wrists and rushed toward the drone. His scarred face turned from fear and regret to fanaticism, the black market for immortality is worth billions. I am clumsy in sponsoring file deletion, but the movie owner revives me and I am invincible. Suppressive despair is like a black cloud rolling over the abyss, the V4 wave global linkage crooning and counting down, the heartbeat is lurking, the hammer is hitting the legs are weak, the chest is tight, the server heart heat source is bulging, the backup AI cabin is dancing, the silver snake is dancing, reflecting the twisted shield of the quantum wall, the musty, bloody, electric, sticky poisonous fog is burning the nose, pinching the eardrums, and insects are biting the bones. Li Tai's gun swept the drone, the steel wings shattered, sparks exploded, and the stench hit his nose. He let out a weak leg and roared with fear, admiring the hybrid boy. Jiang Chen broke out of prison and teamed up with the movie master to bomb the drone. The global public believes that Gu Sheng misleads hackers into terror. V4 devours the city and our brains explode. How can we reverse the divine terror? Shen Mo's blood sprayed out, the low-voltage rolling gun exploded, the laser glass shattered, her Adam's apple rolled with bloodshot eyes, and she roared, a lonely bloody battle. In the end. Genius, Gu Sheng's backup AI misled the public network, and the Chaebol Empire counterattacked us and turned us into terrorists. Gu Sheng's sweet smile cracked, the black gauze was wet and twisted, and the alloy shell of the backup cabin buzzed. Death is rebirth. The public will always believe me, by Ming Yuan's consciousness master server testifies. Forged log hacker virus. Her eyes were moist and gleaming with fear, and her quantum tattoos were pulsing like an AI collapse. The projection of Li Xian's evil smile enlarged the world. The 30 theater has been destroyed. V4 synchronized the heart rhythm of the whole city to collapse, and the remnants of the hackers are extinct and perform eternal life. Xiao Yi's stern eyes flashed red and pulsated, his fingertips danced wildly, the portable scanner beeped harshly and dismantled the V4 nest code, the self-made firewall silver shield was reborn, the quantum hook pierced the base of the heart of the main server, the screen fissured, the tree-like red veins were partially withered, the electric arc flowed back, the hot air was splashed with scorching smell, remote end paralysis. 50 points of the edge network of Sanbai Theater were disconnected, and the V4 wave was attenuated by 30%. The data torrent rolled back like a waterfall of blood, and the global hotline thundered and the public network flooded out to restore the irrefutable editing. Gu Sheng Haisha T0:19:32 Blood Planting 3 activates by Lin Spasm Projection Tour. Jiang Chen burned scars and whispered in fear to sponsor the deletion of files. By Ningzhu Disk Quantum Log appeared in the blink of an eye. Shadow 7 Resurrection Blood 3 Eternal Imprisonment and Selling Soul. Gu Sheng cloned brain waves to capture. Perjury. Shen Mo glared, raised his fist and pinched his white joints with blood dripping on his Adam's apple, rolling and worshipping like fire, God. The remote end is paralyzed 50-50. The V4 in the theater was attenuated, and the public network replayed Gu Sheng's Pro-Ji Jiang Chen sponsored by Ning's diary. Genius monster, public misinformation turned us into heroes. Her voice trembled, she stared at Xiao Yi's side with blood and excitement, and the drone swarm's steel wings shattered, sparks exploded, and the smell burned her nose. Li Tai's eyes were filled with wet admiration and roared like thunder. Boy, in the blink of an eye, the remote tree is paralyzing the edge of the world. The top of the bureau has been licking and kneeling for half a year, and your brain's self-made shield has exploded and your dick has exploded and you will be dead forever. The blood in your shoulders makes your legs weak, but it's as scary as the blood boiling. The hotline of the global audience exploded and screamed into adoration. Shen Mo's knees pressed down and the bloody battle broke out. The barrel of the low-voltage rolling gun made a clanging sound. The bullets tore through the glass of the drone's laser network and exploded with sparks and arcs. She roared and blood dripped down her arms. Genius cover. I break out of the control room to piece together the clues to Bai Ning's original consciousness and hide the evidence on the main server. The alloy door of the passage roared and shattered, rain smashed against rust, and the drums beat like weeping blood. Her figure melted into the night and the shadow gun swept behind her, trailing her shadow and splashing blood and mud. Xiao Yi's fingertip hook locked the remnant wave of Gu Sheng's cloned encrypted mobile phone. The quantum sickle cut through the multiple password remnant shields and uploaded the tree-like spread of Xing Ying's account directly to Li Xian's core IP. Cracked. Gu Sheng's clone password, Shadow Ghost Payment Code Farmer Eastern European Union, Double Agent Order to Kill Zhao Ting and Spy on Jiang Chen were all exposed. Gu Sheng cloned the Black Veil and struggled in a twisted way. The backup AI cabin hummed to warm up, and her sweet smile cracked and her Adam's apple rolled with fear and wetness. Monster hacker, the cloning code has no solution. You restored by Ning's original consciousness. The main server's self-destruction countdown started, only 30 minutes left. Her voice was hoarse, her iron eyes were bulging, burrs flashed and collapsed, and the black gauze was wet and the quantum tattoos on the ground were burned in violation of the pulsation. Li Tai fired the last shot and the drone's steel feet shattered the marble with a muffled sound. He gasped and shouted in admiration, "Boss," the magic gun broke out of the control room. The boy cracked the cloning code and exposed the shadow ghost coder. Gu Sheng, bitch, is about to collapse and self-destruct. The countdown is 30 minutes. Explode your brains and blow up the gold statue forever. Jiang Chen broke out of jail and teamed up with the movie host to sneak into the movie. His yellow teeth were laughing, his scars were twitching, and he implanted a chip in his fingertips to summon a swarm of drones to buzz and sweep the heat source. The movie master's gift is to bomb the safe house. The hacker remnants are extinct, and V4 Global Performance revives my dream of sponsoring. But the torrent of the public network backfired and the tree-like red veins withered, and the screen fissioned. Jiang Chen deleted files and sponsored the ironclad evidence that emerged. White Lin T0:22:47 heart rhythm collapse, perfect projection, by Ning T1:03:15 neck burst U disk asking for help, Zhao Ting T2 summit heat source abnormal movement silenced, his scarred face, fear twisted yellow teeth lightning collapse, impossible, sponsored money laundering and file deletion exposed. I clumsily witnessed Gu Sheng personally planted an acting witness in exchange for immunity. The film owner Li Xian betrayed me and shattered my dream of eternal life. The heat source of the drone swarm locked and self-exploded, sparks exploded, and the glass shattered and the stink burned his nose. He struggled on the ground and cuffing his wrists and rolling in blood and mud. He whispered regretfully, "Idiot, he was used with all his tricks." Li Xian's doghouse infiltrated the top brass of the police station. I sponsored billions in the black market and became cannon fodder. The alloy door of Shen Mo's control room opened with a bloody face and he gasped wildly to support Bai Ning's original consciousness projection. Genius, piece together the clues. Bai Ning's master server hides evidence and blinks for help. Gu Sheng clones brainwaves to capture fake logs, and the movie owner Li Xuanfeng's IP Tree V4 city eating system is completely exposed. Her voice trembled in admiration, wet and bloodshot eyes bulged, the global hotline thundered and turned to worship, and the audience screamed and echoed, "Horrifying hero." Gu Sheng clone terrorist. Li Xian's projection of a sinister smile spread across the globe and instantly the glitches cracked and turned into laughter. The hackers reversed, but the main server self-destructed for 30 minutes, and Bai Ningyuan's consciousness was permanently deleted. The V4 wave hummed and escalated, the heartbeat hammer struck wildly, the server room trembled and the fan roared with blood-red light sea pulses, the silver snake was reborn, and poisonous fog burned its nose. Xiao Yi's fingertips were dripping with cold sweat as he danced wildly with the silver shield's quantum hook and pierced the remaining code of the self-destruct countdown. The red text of 30:00 appeared on the screen and pulsed, exposed. Li Xianying Master's consciousness uploaded ironclad evidence of DNA blood stains and white condensation cabin fingerprints for selling souls on the black market. The torrent of data poured into the public network like the Milky Way and spread to the 300 theater. The black mist of the plutocratic empire swallowed up the stock price and collapsed, and the dark web order arc burned and buzzed. Li Tai's legs were weak and he roared in admiration of the fearful hybrid, boy, the divine hacker cracked the self-destruction hook and stabbed the base tree. The bureau expert knelt on the ground like a golden statue hanging on the neck, and the brain exploded and the dick exploded and the blood boiled. Shen Mo came back from the bloody battle, holding his arms and panting feverishly moist, genius, completely crushed. Gu Sheng clone defeated Jiang Chen and regretted self-destruction. Li Xian's projection collapsed and the public worshipped us. But the countdown to self-destruction is 29:45, how to save the original consciousness of Bai Ning, the heart of the main server. Gu Sheng cloned black, the gauze twisted and fluttered to the ground, and she burst into laughter. Data is immortal, the final performance is shattered. Her quantum tattoos burned and burrs flashed with fear and regret, and her wet eyes bulged. Jiang Chen's yellow teeth expired, and the edges of his breath burned scars and twitched as he whispered, "Shadow Master, sold me a broken dream." Li Xian's projection changed from a sinister smile to a despairing distortion. V4 world is destroyed. The rain smashed against the rust like a blood drum and the abyss murmured. A lonely boat fought bloody battles on the edge. The self-destruction red letter pulsed at 29:30, the murderous drama swallowed up the whole world, and the curtain slowly opened. The abyss of the server room hums like the ebbing tide of insects, the blood-red sea of light pulses slowly withers, the arc of the silver snake rolls back, and the scorched smell fills the sticky air. The tree-like red veins of the V4 brood code are shattered inch by inch under the sting of the quantum hook at Xiao Yi's fingertips, and the red letter 28:59 appears on the screen, pulsing like a dying heartbeat. The rain hit the rusty shell and made a low sound. The rotten and bloody electric stench hit her nose. Gu Sheng's cloned black gauze twisted and fluttered to the ground, the quantum tattoo burned and flashed. Her wet eyes bulged in fear and she collapsed and whispered, "Self-destruct." The heart of the main server exploded. Bai Ning's original consciousness was deleted forever. "You monster hacker, I can't save you." Jiang Chen cuffed his wrists tightly, his scars twitching, his yellow teeth twitching, and he was on the verge of dying. He gasped and regretted like a dying beast, "The film owner sold me cannon fodder." The dream of billions of dollars in the black market is shattered, and V4's global linkage is still eating your brains. Li Tai's shoulder wound was burned, and the blood bubbles exploded. The stench hit his nose and his legs were weak, and the queen roared in fear. "I admire the mixed race, boy." Self-destruction for 28 minutes, the scarlet pulse V4 rekindled the silver snake. The quantum expert of the bureau knelt down for half a year and his brains exploded. How can you reverse the hook and stab the base of your god? The dick exploded and the legs were so weak that the blood boiled, but it was so cool. Shen Mo came back from the bloody battle to hold Xiao Yi's arm, gasping for breath, and his bloody face was twisted with excitement. Afraid of getting wet, her bloodshot eyes bulged and her Adam's apple rolled, and she whispered wildly, "Genius, the torrent of public network ironclad evidence has reversed and misled us heroes to worship," but the main server self-destructed. Bai Ningyuan's consciousness blinked and left an afterimage asking for help. How can we break through the abyss of a bloody battle alone? The chest tightness V4's aftermath will weaken our legs, and we will all be wiped out. The black cloud of oppression and despair crushes like a hammer beating the heartbeat, the server fan roars and trembles, the quantum wall remains, the shield is distorted, the heat source bulges, the backup AI cabin buzzes, the poisonous fog burns the nose, the hotline of the 300 theaters around the world thunders and groans, and the aftermath devours the audience in convulsions. Li Xian's projection of a sinister smile exploded into laughter as the world zoomed in. The remnants of the hackers, self-destructed for 25 minutes, V4's final performance was uploaded to the eternal black market, and the plutocratic empire was reborn. His hoarse voice echoed in the eardrums, and with the torrent of the public network, Gu Sheng misled Red Waterfall to suspend dark network orders, withered, arced, burned, hummed and disconnected. Xiao Yi's pale side face flushed red, his cold eyes narrowed slightly, cold sweat and ice needles seeped into his forehead, and he sat cross-legged in the middle of the bloody mud, his fingertips trembled slightly, and the self-made silver shield quantum hook stabbed deeply into the main server's heart base code, the screen fissured, tree-like red veins partially withered, data torrent poured backwards into the galaxy, locked. By Ningyuan's consciousness brainwave afterimage quantum encryption layer, V4 brood self-destruction countdown to dismantling 27:45. But the security AI wakes up suddenly, the alloy claws buzz, the laser sweeps the heat source and swarms at the end of the passage. Gu Sheng clones sweetly twists and flutters the black yarn. The moist remote control pulses blue light and activates the Fatal Performance VR module. The theater audience's VR glasses heat source violently bulges and the heart rate hammer hits. The hallucination of death spasms screams echoes on the global hotline, death is eternal life, the public experiences the Blood Shadow Tour, hacker terrorists are extinct. Shen Mo's blood sprayed and the low-voltage rolling gun exploded, the security AI's steel wings shattered, sparks exploded, and the stench hit her nostrils. She roared, her Adam's apple rolled, bloodshot eyes bulged, genius cover. The fatal VR performance eats the audience's heart rate, I broke through and cut off the main line of VR. The public screamed and collapsed. Her figure melted into the night shadow, the barrel of the gun burst, tongues of fire spit out, sonorous and dull. The loud bullet tore the laser net, the glass shattered, the rain hit the rust, and the blood and mud spattered the pungent nose. Li Tai's legs weakened and the gun swept behind the swarm. The steel feet smashed the marble, making a loud noise and gasping for fear. The boss's sharp gun bloody battle. The kid security AI teamed up with Gu Sheng's afterimage to perform a fatal VR death hallucination. The global audience convulsed, our brains exploded and our dicks exploded in fear. Jiang Chen's yellow teeth laughed epileptically, burned scars, twitched, struggled with handcuffs, and the chip implanted in his wrists pulsed out and came loose. He teamed up with Gu Sheng to clone, gift from the movie owner. Deadly performance VR city-eating hacker alone, I sponsor billions of rebirths. However, the public network is irrefutable and the torrent of Gu Sheng's blood transplant 3 activates by Lin's heart rhythm collapse T0:22:47 projection tour pops up, Jiang Chen's scarred face was twisted in fear, his yellow teeth collapsed and fell to the ground, exposed. Sponsored money laundering, file deletion, clumsy witnessing all moves, the movie owner sells me cannon fodder. Gu Sheng cloned the black gauze twisted sweet smile, bursting the quantum tattoo and pulsating, the self-destruction program is activated, blow up half of the equipment, the monster hacker permanently deletes Bai Ning's original consciousness. The explosion roared, the alloy shell twisted and fired, the arc danced in the sky, and the scorch and stench spattered. Half of the server cabin melted down, the silver snake was disconnected, buzzed and breathed out, Shen Mo was seriously injured, his bloody arm was twisted and fell to the ground, the gun barrel fell, gasping for breath, wet and bloody face, fear and admiration for the hybrid, genius. I failed to cut off the VR main line, seriously injured my leg, V4 left a tight chest, and the world screamed after the fatal performance you break into the core alone. Her voice trembled and her bloodshot eyes stared at Xiao Yi's pale face like a ghost descending. Li Tai yelled, boy Captain Shen is seriously injured. Gu Sheng self-destructed the half-server security AI swarm in a fatal VR performance that ate the audience. How can we resist the horror of annihilation? Xiao Yi stood up coldly and pointed frantically. Wu's portable scanner beeped harshly to dismantle the V4 security code, and the self-made firewall silver shield was reborn. The quantum hook pierced the core cabin base. The afterimage of Bai Ning's original consciousness projection appeared on the screen. He blinked and wet eyes appeared, asking for help, Xiao Yi, restore me. The mastermind of Li Xian, the mastermind of the tycoon, immortality data sales, black market consciousness uploading and selling souls, Gu Sheng clones brainwave capture, false evidence, and blood transplantation 3 are all exposed. The data torrent devoured the tree-like red veins, withered the arc, and scalded the air. The V4 wave attenuated by 50%. The edge of the theater was disconnected and expanded to hundreds of hotlines around the world. The thunder turned to worship and screams echoed, horrifying hero. Bai Ningyuan's consciousness testifies to the collapse of the eternal soul-selling empire of the movie host Li Xian. Gu Sheng cloned the black yarn and twisted towards the core cabin. The quantum tattoo burrs cracked and formed into a smile. Bai Ning's original consciousness. The final code of self-destruction requires sacrifice and formatting of 5 backup hard drives. Her fingertips remotely controlled pulse blue light to activate the countdown to explosion. The red letter pulsed for 10 seconds, but Xiao Yi's eyes reflected the projection of cold sweat, and his Adam's apple was rolling. The silver shield quantum sickle at his fingertips swiped through the multiple encrypted residual shields, sacrifice. Reversal. Hard drive recovery blood shadow module ironclad expansion, Gu Sheng T0:19:32 Pro blood transplant 3 by Lin neck burst U disk quantum log shadow 7 blood 3 eternal imprisonment. The screen is fissured, the white condensed projection is stably amplified, the wet voice is hoarse and scratches the iron, the final password, Shadow Ghost Eastern European Union Payment Coder Li Xianfeng IP Tree V4 Mother Nest. All unlocked. The explosion made a muffled sound, the alloy shell trembled, sparks exploded, and the electricity stunned the nose, but the core cabin's silver shield protected the quantum hook and locked the self-destruction code to reverse and wither. The V4 global linkage hummed and disconnected. The VR hallucination of the 300 theater audience collapsed and screamed. Li Tai's eyes were wet and he worshipped Lei Ming's roar, and his legs fell softly to the ground. Boy, the god of horror broke into the core alone and sacrificed the hard disk to reverse the white condensation projection and testify against Li Xian's mastermind. In the blink of an eye, the V4 was attenuated by 50% and disconnected in hundreds of places, and the brain exploded and the golden statue hung forever. Captain Shen was seriously injured, but with God the blood is boiling and the fear is mixed. Shen Mo's bloody arms were twisted and panting, and he was holding his arms wet and dripping with blood. The monster genius, Bai Ning's original consciousness is stable in the live broadcast, and Gu Sheng's self-destruction of half of the equipment failed and the fatal performance VR crash made us famous as global heroes. The torrent of the public network pours down like a galaxy. The screen of the 300 theater pops up. Bai Ning projection blinks and asks for help. The complete log, Gu Sheng clones brain waves, captures forged shadow ghosts, and pays for global black market awareness. Upload souls, DNA, blood stains, Bai Ning cabin fingerprints, ironclad evidence, and Li Xuanfeng's IP tree-shaped V4 city-eating system is fully exposed. The Chable stock price collapsed in red, the black fog swallowed up the dark network orders, the electric arc burned and buzzed and disconnected, Li Xian's projection turned into a ferocious smile, twisted into despair, and the burrs collapsed into a broken smile, impossible. The Eternal Empire V4 finally performed collapse, self-destruction reversal of Bai Ning's testimony and exposure. His figure was instantly enlarged and burned with electric arcs, and the audience's hotline burst into worship and the thunder echoed, Xiao Yi is a terrible hero, Shen Mo. Gu Sheng clones Jiang Chen and cannon fodder Li Xian, the film master, is imprisoned forever. Gu Sheng cloned black gauze and moistened quantum tattoos, burned them with fear and regret, and whispered, the data will be shattered forever. The double agent sold his dream to ashes. Jiang Chen died of yellow teeth, burned scars, convulsed, cuffed his wrists, and collapsed. Idiots are being used. Sponsored the money laundering master infiltrated the top brass of the police station and was exposed. The security AI swarm heat source locked and self-exploded, the steel wings shattered, sparks exploded, glass shattered, and electric odors flew everywhere. The server room trembled and slowed down. The fan roared and the blood-red light pulsed forever. The heavy rain gradually slowed down in the middle of the night, and the rust was like a lingering whisper. The blood and mud in the underground core server room dried up, and the moldy and rotten electricity smell faded away. The fresh air penetrated into the cold. Xiao Yi's pale side face reflected the white condensed projection and smiled steadily. He recovered the quantum hook silver shield at his fingertips. The folding portable scanner beeped and disconnected. He stood up coldly and his Adam's apple rolled and whispered, the end. V4 is destroyed globally, Bai Ning's original consciousness is backed up to the public network for eternity, and Li Xian's master's DNA blood traces are handed over to the international detective. Shen Mo was severely injured and his bloody arm was bandaged. He gasped and leaned against the wall. His bloody face turned soft and wet with admiration. Her bloodshot eyes were slightly narrowed and her voice was trembling like tears. Genius, we survived. The climax of the Blood War God-level reversal, the heroes of 300 theaters around the world worshipped, the plutocratic empire collapsed and the black market was burned. Your partner Shen Mo, who is famous in the hacker world, will always be hung with a golden statue in the police world. Her fist squeezed her white joints, tears of excitement mixed with blood dripping on the ground, staring at the side of Xiao Yi's face like a god descending. Li Tai's injured shoulder stopped bleeding and he gasped for breath. He stood upright with a dumb roar and worshipped. His legs softened and stabilized. Boy, the miraculous man broke into the core alone in the blink of an eye and reversed self-destruction. Bai Ning pointed out that the V4 was weakened in hundreds of places. The top expert of the bureau knelt and licked for half a year without a trace. Your brain made a homemade shield and your dick exploded for eternity. The security captain Li Tai and Shen Shuang's blood boiled and their fear turned into success. The boss Jiang Chen handcuffed me and turned my dream of being promoted to manager into a hero. The lights at the peak of the theater first came on, and the virtual and real blended together. The curtain slowly pulled down, and the audience's hotline admiration continued. The global news flooded out. Xiao Yi hacker detective smashed the eternal conspiracy. Detective Shen Mo fought a bloody battle with the hero. Gu Sheng clone Jiang Chen surrendered, and Li Xian's consciousness was uploaded to the black market for eternal imprisonment. He sneered deeply and put away the account tree diagram of Shen Ying's account on Gu Sheng's encrypted mobile phone, the irrefutable evidence of the live broadcast of Jiang Chen's confession recording, the complete backup of Bai Ning's quantum log on USB flash drive, and the self-made firewall of Quantum Shield and Silver Snake with embedded surveillance program. The treasure is in hand, the famous and prestigious plutocrats are offering billions of hero bounties, and the top brass of the police station have infiltrated and eliminated Inspector Shen Mo Sheng. I, the hacker, am free to pursue a bigger shadow. Shen Mo gasped and stood up, wearing a bloody arm sling and trembling softly. Partner, the aftermath has changed. The theater has been reborn without V4 blood shadows. The audience has been awakened by VR's eternal dream and the public has worshipped us. We fought alone and gained a golden statue that will be hung forever. But before the collapse of Li Xian's projection, he whispered, a bigger show is about to begin. The aftertaste of fear burned him to death. Li Tai's yellow teeth flashed into worship and laughed, God's team. I injured my shoulder and changed the security director of the theater. The global hotline signed a documentary worth billions. I will hang with God forever. The dim light of early morning seeped into the remains of the core server in the underground laboratory. The backup AI cabin buzzed and died. The white condensed projection faded away and blinked away the smile. Xiao Yi's fingertip stroked the formatted 5-time backup hard drive and restored the blood shadow module. The irrefutable expansion of the full record of Gu Sheng's personal implantation. The smell of blood and electricity on the nose faded away and the fresh air became cool. The world was reborn because of his crushing IQ. Shen Mo leaned against his shoulder and whispered admiringly, Genius, the trivial matters have been dealt with. Jiang Chen and Gu Sheng were recaptured and handed over, Li Tai was promoted to guard, the global disconnection was restored without the aftermath of the city engulfment. But the data will last forever. In the aftermath of the fatal performance conspiracy, we achieved the ultimate victory, and it was so satisfying to the bones. Her wet eyes stared at Xiao Yi's stern silhouette, the supporting characters' eyes widened and their trembling voices gathered in worship with thunderous sounds. The blood shadow curtain in the theater ended, and the new curtain faintly opened up the shadow outline. The sense of accomplishment was like a warm current washing away the fear of the abyss, and the readers were so excited that they couldn't stop. The early morning light pierced through the remains of the underground laboratory like a silver needle. The cracked rusty blood and mud emitted a low groan. The remains of the charred server cabin reflected the afterglow of the blue arc. The smell of mold and rotten electricity mixed with the fresh muddy wind after the rain. The pungency gradually faded, as if the abyss exhaled the last breath of poisonous mist. The white condensed projection pulsed at the base of the core cabin, moist eyes blinked like dying candlelight, and the hoarse voice echoed, "Xiao Yi. The final password has been given." The film owner Li Xian hid the roots of the Eastern European darknet in the terminal. The V4 source consciousness was uploaded to the black market, and the data of dozens of actors were sacrificed to achieve immortality. Experience, the theater is a slaughterhouse, resume the live broadcast of the murder video, and delete them forever. Her figure was blurred and distorted, the afterimage of the quantum brain wave gradually faded, the nose was filled with the faint smell of burnt paper, the supporting characters fell to the ground with weak legs, Shen Mo's bloody arm sling was trembling, his bloodshot eyes were bulging, and his Adam's apple was rolling with fear. Whispering, "Genius." By Ning gave all the clues before saying goodbye to the projection, and the host's terminal invaded the world and was exposed. We were seriously injured, our legs were weak, V4 was left with chest tightness, and the police blocked the outside and the security remnants were swarming. How can we break through the abyss alone and finally get to the heart? Li Tai's injured shoulder, charred flesh and blood blisters oozing out, the stench breathing heavily from behind, the yellow-toothed lightning-fearing hybrid mute roared, "Boy, the god is so horrified that he can destroy himself in the blink of an eye, but the Shadow Master's tree roots are lurking in the Eastern European Coders Alliance on the dark web." Dozens of actors live-streamed the killings with irrefutable evidence recovered. The Bureau's quantum expert knelt for half a year and his brains exploded and his dick exploded. We are all wiped out. The aftertaste of oppressive black clouds crushes the heart rate like a hammer, the hotline of 300 theaters around the world murmurs and turns to thunder, the torrent of the public network pours into the Milky Way, and the white condensed log spreads, but Li Xian's projection returns and the evil smile enlarges, the remnants of hackers, the roots of the eternal empire will not be extinguished, and the V4 source code is resurrected in Eastern Europe. Dozens of actors realize that. The black market is reborn with billions. His voice was hoarse like thousands of insects gnawing at bones, and as the dark web order pulses sprang out, the silver snake warmed up, the audience's VR glasses heat source convulsed, the heart rate hallucinations convulsed and screamed, and the Chable's stock price rebounded from the edge of the withered red mist and was swallowed by the black mist. Jiang Chen cuffed his wrists with burning scars, twitching, yellow teeth, and was on the verge of losing his breath. The movie owner gave me tree roots. Dozens of actors who sponsored money laundering were silenced and buried. Hackers can never delete it. Gu Sheng cloned the black gauze and got wet and twisted, and the quantum tattoo burrs flashed and the remote control pulsed blue light activated the terminal backup. Double-sided agents sold their dreams. The live murder video was formatted 5 times, and the movie owner's consciousness was uploaded for eternity. The security AI remnants crushed the marble with their steel feet and stifled it. The loud laser sweep heat source swarms at the end of the passage, the rain hits the rust and knocks down the mold, rot, blood, electricity, and the stench rekindles the sticky air. Despair is like a quantum wall pressing on the top, and the blood and water splash into the low-voltage gun barrel. The tongue of fire spits out the sonorous bullet and tears it apart. The steel wings shattered, sparks exploded, and the stench hit her nostrils. She roared with blood and her face twisted in fear. Genius cover. The film master's terminal invaded our security swarm, and before the irrefutable evidence of dozens of actors was exposed, our brains were blown, our chests were numb, our legs were weak, and we were all wiped out. Xiao Yi's pale side face reflected the afterimage of white condensation, his cold eyes narrowed slightly, cold sweat oozed from his forehead, and he sat cross-legged in the middle of the blood mud, his fingertips trembled slightly, his self-made silver shield quantum hook stabbed deep into the base of the hard drive that had been formatted 5 times, the screen fissured, tree-like red veins partially withered, data flooded backwards, white condensation code. Shadow Ghost Eastern European payment programmer Li Xianfeng IP invaded the root of the terminal V4 source tree. But the terminal security quantum wall awakens, buzzes with poisonous fog, burns the nose, alloy claws, laser network locks the heat source, Gu Sheng clones sweet and twisted, flutters the black veil, wet remote control pulse activates the fatal performance VR final module. All the audience at the ball theater had their hearts beat wildly with hammers, hallucinations, death spasms, screams and thunder. Eternal slaughterhouse. Hacker terrorists are extinct, and dozens of actor data are resurrected for black market tours. Li Tai's legs were weak and he shot the swarm of bees and roared in fear. The boys' security remnant teamed up with Gu Sheng's terminal VR to devour the world. Our dicks are going to boil and our brains will explode. Shen Mo was seriously injured, his bloody arm was twisted, his gun exploded, his steel wings made a muffled sound, the glass shattered, rain hit, and blood and mud spattered in his nose. She gasped, wet and bloodshot eyes bulged. Genius. I failed to break out, my legs were weak. The aftermath of V4, the roots of the Shadow Master's tree rekindled dozens of irrefutable evidence and was buried forever in the abyss. The explosion made a muffled sound, the alloy shell trembled, the flames shot up into the sky, the electric arc danced, and the scorch and smell were scattered everywhere. Half of the terminals were backed up and melted. The silver snake was disconnected and buzzed, but Xiao Yi's Adam's apple rolled up and stood up. His fingertips danced wildly. The portable scanner beeped and dismantled the V4 security code. Explosion, Jiang Chen sponsored file deletion, Zhao Ting T2 silenced, Li Xian summit tree-like V4 source. A torrent of live murder videos appeared on the screen. Lead actor Bai Lin's heart rhythm collapsed on the opening night. Projection tour convulsions, Gu Sheng's black veil pro-blood transplant 3 activated sweet smile distortion, Jiang Chen's scarred yellow teeth witness deletion and money laundering. Dozens of actors' data were captured and uploaded to the black market immortality slaughterhouse. An ironclad evidence of DNA blood stains and fingerprints appeared in the underground cabin of the theater. Li Xian's terminal tree roots withered with red veins, electric arcs flowed back and scalded the air. The screen of the Global 300 theaters fissured, live broadcast murder amplified, the audience's hotline exploded and screamed, then screamed in despair. The truth, the immortal conspiracy Chable slaughterhouse was exposed. The Chable stock price collapsed in red, black fog burned dark web orders, the arc buzzed and disconnected, the AI network pulse whispered, the world collapsed, and the VR module of the 300 theaters self-destructed and the heat source exploded. Gu Sheng cloned the black gauze and twisted towards the terminal. The quantum tattoo collapsed and formed a smile. Self-destruction source code, blow up the irrefutable evidence of the live broadcast, and the consciousness of the film owner will be immortal. A blue light burst out from her fingertips to activate the 5-second countdown with red words pulsing, but Xiao Yi's eyes reflected the video and sneered. Deep, the quantum hook at the fingertips pierced the core IP of the film master, double-sided agent. Delete. Gu Sheng's data consciousness was formatted, Jiang Chen's sponsorship record was permanently deleted, Li Xian's Shadow Master's root code virus was shattered. The explosion roared, the alloy shell twisted, sparks exploded, and the electric stench burning his nose. Gu Sheng's cloned figure burned and fell to the ground, whispering in fear, the data will be shattered forever. Selling dreams into ashes and rout on both sides. Jiang Chen's yellow teeth collapsed, burned scars, twitched, cuffed his wrists, and locked his wrists tightly, exposed dozens of people to kill me and sponsor all the tricks. The movie owner sold me cannon fodder and will be deleted forever. Li Xian's projection zoomed in all over the world and turned to despair, twisting and grinning. Impossible, the source code of the Eternal Empire collapsed, and dozens of actors confirmed the live broadcast. The red veins in the root of his consciousness cracked and arced back, and the black market order for data immortality withered and buzzed to death. The heat source of the security AI swarm locked on and self-destructed. The steel wings shattered and the glass shattered. The server room trembled and the fan roared. The sea of blood-red lights went out forever. Shen Mo came back from the bloody battle and held Xiao Yi's arms panting. Her blood-streaked face turned from excitement and fear to wetness of admiration. Her bloodshot eyes were bulging and her Adam's apple rolled and she whispered wildly, "The genius is terrible." Live broadcast murders have been restored to global exposure, and the AI network collapsed. Gu Sheng, Jiang Chen and Li Xian's data consciousness has been permanently deleted. The truth about dozens of actors' slaughterhouses has flooded the public network. We fight with blood, our legs are weak, our legs are weak, our chests are tight, and we are heroes. Her fists squeezed her white joints, tears mixed with blood dripping on the ground, staring at Xiao Yi's pale face like a god of wisdom descending. Li Tai roared loudly, his back legs softened, his shoulder injury stopped, the burnt flesh stopped bleeding, and the stench faded away. He worshipped the mute roar. The boy blinked and invaded the movie host's terminal, reversed self-destruction and resumed the live broadcast. The irrefutable V4 source code was shattered. 300 theaters around the world collapsed. The plutocratic empire collapsed. His dick exploded and his brains exploded. The golden statue hung forever. The security director Li Tai and Shen Shuang's blood boiled and their fear became an achievement. The white condensation projection stabilized and magnified the moist. She smiled and said goodbye, Xiao Yi and Shen Mo. The whole story of the theater immortality experiment was revealed. Dozens of actors were sacrificed to capture the soul-selling black market. Thank you for restoring my ironclad public network forever. Justice is immortal. Farewell. Her figure faded away like the afterglow of the quantum brainwave extinguished like a candle. The cool fresh air seeped into her nose. The supporting characters' eyes widened with trembling voices as they gathered to worship the thunder. The police helicopter roared with iron wings and circled over the theater. Red and blue lasers swept the heat source to block the passage and mass arrested the top chables. Jiang Chen and Gu Sheng were handcuffed and handed over with yellow teeth and burnt scars. He collapsed in fear and whispered, all measures, sponsored to silence and forever imprison. Li Xian's Eastern European backing tree roots exposed Interpol's encrypted investigation. The alliance of attack coders was wiped out, and the global news flooded the galaxy. Xiao Yi hacker detective smashed the Yongxing slaughterhouse, Detective Shen Mo fought a bloody battle with heroes, live broadcast murder proved irrefutable justice for dozens of actors, the Chable Empire collapsed and the theater was sealed forever. Xiao Yi touched the portable scanner with his fingertips and finally deleted the virus source code tree. All the red veins were wiped out, the self-made quantum shield Silver Snake folded and recovered Gu Sheng's mobile phone Xingying account, Jiang Chen's confession, and Bai Ning's USB flash drive full backup. He stood up coldly and whispered with his Adam's apple rolling, it's over. Although the data is deleted, justice will last forever, and the bloody curtain of the theater will fall forever. Shen Mo was seriously injured and bandaged his bloody arm. The sling breathed against her shoulder and softly trembled in admiration, partnering with a monster genius. The climax of the lone bloody battle was exposed to the world. Our famous golden statue in the police and hacker world will be hung forever. It is so satisfying that the aftertaste of fear in the bone marrow turns into a warm current. Her moist eyes stared at Xiao Yi's silhouette, and her fists touched her arms lightly, trusting each other like steel. The afternoon sun pierced through the rust of the ruins, the lanterns on the peak of the theater shattered and reality merged, the curtains burned and ashes drifted away, the permanent barbed wire cordon was raised and buzzed, and the audience's hotline became calm and worshipped endlessly. Xiao Yi and Shen Mo stood side by side on the edge of the bloody mud, watching the outline of the ruins of the theater disappear in the breeze. The smell of mold and rot on their noses faded away, and the grass and trees became fresh, and the world was reborn due to the crushing of IQ. Shen Mo whispered with a blood-soaked face, the genius has grown. From the first hard drive formatting and isolation investigation, to the bloody battle in the abyss to reverse the global conspiracy, our partners trust each other forever, the souls of dozens of actors rest in peace, and justice is eternal like data. Li Tai smiled with yellow teeth and stood upright in admiration, God team. The director's position is stable, the documentary contract worth billions is explosive forever. The supporting actors' Adam's apple rolled, their eyes moistened and trembled, and the voices gathered together. Xiao Yi is horrified by the hero Shen Mo. The truth is revealed layer by layer, and the body and mind are filled with excitement. Xiao Yi sneered, his eyes were deep and he put away the treasure, his cell phone trembled. Interpol closed the case and encrypted. V4 has wiped out all the remaining parties, the blood shadow in the theater has been completed, and the curtain of justice has been drawn. The warm sunshine washes away the fear of the abyss, the reader is satisfied like the aftertaste of a climax, and the story stays in the heart forever. The smell of ionized air in the car filled the air, the screen hook flashed and new traffic surged, the main server connected to the deep ghost alliance of the Chable, Gu Sheng's warm-up broadcast echoed, Act 3, Start. Zhao Ting's corpse live broadcast cycle, the pulse of the whole city changed, the rain hit the roof of the car like a drum, murderous intent was woven layer by layer, the drama swallowed up the night, and new shadows scratched the heart like ghost claws.